Right, I think that works. Okay, comrades, this is my second attempt at my first amateur live stream. Hello, my first comment. It's nice to see someone. You know, yesterday I did a 2-hour stream. First time ever. It shows you I'm a total amateur at this whole thing. And I was speaking for 2 hours. I'm going to get back to that in a moment. Thank you for saying that. Why I was gone for so long. It's a really boring reason. But anyway, I was doing a live stream yesterday. I was so proud of myself for the first time. I was just over 2 hours and the whole mission and everything was going on. And then I realized for some reason my stream key for YouTube was incorrect. So the whole thing just disappeared into the ether and nothing came of it. Now I just made sure I had that scene in the background just to check is it working, because I'm also using yes, I want notifications. That's right. This is not a planned stream. This is purely a test to see if I can do this whole thing. As I said yesterday, the thing went terribly wrong. So yes, I'm doing this on one monitor. I don't have two monitors. This is a terribly amateurish setup. I also have a webcam from 20 years ago, so this is why it's such a terrible setup. But it's just a test to say that I am alive, I am back again, and obviously I want to jump on the bandwagon of the Apollo 50 anniversary. So yes, I'm back. That's the thing. The last few months have been quite a difficult time, and it's all about health reasons, so it's not a really happy story, so I'm going to avoid going into that in this video too much. So I can do a separate video about that. But I am alive, so just know that. And I think that's why the best thing is to start again with Kerbal Space Program, as opposed to continuing with the geopolitical simulators and all that for now. That will still come in the future. I just want to see if everything is working here and all of that. And I also have a new upgraded fiber internet connection now. For the first time I've moved away from ADSL. So that's why I'm able to do this. And again, I'm using the cheapest kind of headphones and the cheapest kind of everything. I just want to see if this whole thing can work. So anyway, that all said, I'm at least glad. I was wondering, I was streaming for 2 hours and not a single comment appeared, and I was wondering what was happening there. I just thought no one would be interested because again, it's not a predicted thing or planned thing. But yes, anyway, at least I know it's working, so thank you for that. So yes, back to the game then. I'm using a small hello. It's going to be a strange thing for me, so please forgive me. I have to get used to this whole thing of playing the game and reading the comments, but that's why I wanted to do this. Also, the background is just a mess. I know that's one of the first rules that people say. If you're doing a stream, don't leave your environment like it normally is. It's literally paperwork on that desk, and it's just, anyway. It's an authentic environment. Let's leave it at that. So yes, we can change a lot of things still here. Again, this is just the start. So now I have to play the game on a sort of reduced size screen, and then the chat is on the other side of the screen, and then OBS is in the background there. So at least it's kind of working. So my plan here today is not to do a very long stream. It's a simple kind of mission. And again, in honor of Apollo, it's still valid. It's the 21st now. Obviously, I wanted to do this yesterday, and I did try, but as I said, it didn't work out. But still, they were on the moon on the 21st of July still. So I thought everyone is doing Apollo now. So I want to do something different, but still in terms of the moon and moon landing. So I've started us a new save here. I am using a couple of mods, as you can see in the background, Eve and the texture replacer and all of the sort of basic things. But the real big change comes with the Restock and the Restock Plus mods. Those are the ones that will change the most in terms of the actual parts. Now, of course, I try to keep that as little as possible, you know, the mods that change the parts here, because anytime that the mods are out of date, then the whole game is basically unplayable, because none of your crafts will load and they will just get deleted if you actually try and load them up. So you'll see some things are different here. Obviously, The Restock mod brings its own new engines, and of course the Restock Plus especially. So just be aware of that. It's not a completely stock game here. But anyway, so what are we doing today? As the title of this stream will show, if it's working correctly, crossing my fingers here, it's the Gemini moon landing, but not the direct ascent. It's the Earth Orbit Rendezvous, Lunar Orbit Rendezvous mission. So it's the most convoluted and I think the most dangerous mission, but also one that would probably have been the cheapest in a way, because it didn't require any of the large Saturn V boosters. So I've just created these two craft here. The direct ascent was from a previous video that I did, and this one just uses the Saturn V that we've built already. And so we've seen that. That's also why I didn't want to do this now. We've seen all of this. It just has the Gemini return craft there, so this whole thing lands on the moon and comes back. So what I want to do is the Gemini L. I don't know where I got the L. I think I saw that somewhere, but the main inspiration for me for this whole video is actually Buzz Aldrin's Space Program Manager. And earlier today I've been watching some of my old videos, the very first ones of Buzz Aldrin's Space Program Manager. And one of the actual ways that you can land on the moon is with this configuration. So you have the Saturn C3B as your booster for the Gemini craft. And inside, I greet you comrades. Forgive the awkwardness of this stream. You're going to get that in spades today. But at least I see you there. I recognize you. So then in the cargo bay here, if we just open this, and again here you get the extra options of truss caps inside or no caps and all of that because of the Restock mod. But here we just have the small lander. So this was the Langley Light Lunar Lander. So a lot of L's there, but hopefully we don't take the L today. And actually this was a big mess up yesterday in my failed stream. So that is actually a good thing that it didn't work out. At least I have the practice of that now. So this is the thing that we'll launch, but we'll only launch the second. First of all, we will do, don't save, the Gemini Kicker. Now I don't know what the proper name for this would be. This kicker thing comes from the original Buzz Aldrin's Race into Space, where you had the different kicker configurations. But this thing is basically using a Titan 3E, I think. Now again, this is very quickly slapped together, so it's not going to be my best quality build ever. But the point of this thing is just to get this stage into orbit, and this is then the thing that we'll be docking with. And then this will be literally just kicking us to the moon. So we'll be joined only for a short time with this stage. And then we leave it and then we continue the rest of the mission. So I know now from experience that the fuel levels are all appropriate here. It's all reduced simply because it's too powerful anyway for Kerbal to use this kind of craft or rocket to place things. I greet you comrades. There's probably a slight delay in the comments again. I've seen that in other people's streams, so at least I will acknowledge there if I see something. So yes, so we just have to obviously reduce the fuel here, and the same for the solid fuel boosters. I'm just using the normal thumpers reduced in fuel and in thrust, just to give it the effect of the Titan 3E. So let's launch this. We're just going to go straight into it and see if we can make it work. So tea time, just have to take some here, and then we can continue. It has Comrade Fancy Man. It's a good name. I like that. It's been too long, I have to say, but I'm going to do my best thing to change that and upload more regularly. Let's see, more comments. When are you teaching us how to make the N1? When I remember how to make it, comrades. It's, I know it, that's overdue. It's very overdue. I have to do that. But I think we're going to have to start from scratch on the N1, because obviously it wasn't a complete replica of the original thing. So I'm not sure when. Sometime soon. We have to, but it's somewhere on the schedule. We will take the moon in the name of the Soviet Republic, except we're using the American rockets right now. But again, yes, we will, absolutely. So I think let's just launch this thing and see how that goes. Please let me know if the game audio is too loud. I did turn it to about 50%, so hopefully that's not too much of a problem. That's always the thing also with a stream. You don't know what the audio is going to be like until you actually do it. But I did do a test with a normal recording in OBS just to see that it works. And I'm talking too much, so I've already turned too late here. Forgive me now if I start to sort of lose track because I'm concentrating on things. I see the chat moving from the corner of my eye. I'll just look at that in a moment. Right, volume is fine, volume is okay, thank you very much. It's good to just get that confirmation there. Now the solid fuel boosters will run out fast because again they're more there for the effect. We can get away with this rocket just with the actual skipper engines. I'm using 2 of those instead of the in-game Titan booster there. To separate that, and that works, except it does spin us a little bit when it detaches there. I think it's just because of the extra mass of those side 2 tubes on the boosters there. It sort of imbalances the whole thing for a moment. Just have to reduce the thrust, otherwise we're going to get heating here. I never want heating on the way up. That's one of the things that I despise the most if I don't pay attention to that. So this was supposed to be the Titan 3E with the kicker stage for the Gemini lunar landing. It's the Earth orbit rendezvous, lunar orbit rendezvous combination. But now again, it's not the most precise recreation here. We'll just see how it works, and this is of course again using the restock mod to change the colors and things like that. Don't the solid start first and later in launch? I have no idea. I didn't even look that up. It's very possible. This is a very simple kind of recreation, again just so I can get the thing into orbit. This is also something that we have to spend real time on to build and to actually research all of the things, so forgive me for that, comrades. This is not, again, the most perfect recreation here. Just want to see now, we've already passed the edge of space there with the apoapse, and I can get rid of the fairings. Now this part as well, you're not going to see a recreation here. This is simply using the struts to hold the thing up. I'm also using the skipper again for the engine of this stage, which is not really ideal. I simply did that for the appearance of it. I like the way that it looks here, and going off the Buzz Aldrin Space Program Manager pictures that you see, it kind of looks similar. So you can actually look up this mission if you like. You just have to search Gemini LOR and you'll get an astronautics page for that. And it speaks about how this mission could have been done much earlier than Apollo actually. Greetings, comrade. So this could have been about, I guess, 1966 to 1968. They could have done a few of these. It would have been around Gemini 20. They would have obviously done a few tests in low Earth orbit, and then obviously lunar flybys and things like that. Don't forget the Buran. Don't worry, you don't talk too much. I talk too much. No, we have to do that still as well. The thing is, with those kind of big builds, it's something that's going to take up a nice big block of our time. So there's something I really have to plan for, because once I get into that build, I need to finish it without getting sidetracked, which is a big problem for me. It always happens. But yes, it is on the list, and keep reminding me, please. Okay, I have no idea what I'm doing. I lose track completely here. It shows I'm an amateur streamer, which is absolutely true, and I'm not even looking at the camera. Forgive me for that, comrades. I'm just focused on this thing now. I'm just going to aim for about 120-ish kilometers apoapse, and the engine is going to run out soon. There were actually 4 ways, if you think about it, that the US could have reached the moon, and I think there were only generally 2 ways for the Soviets to do the same. So it was the Apollo direct ascent, first of all. I think that was favored early on, but it needed the Nova rocket. Then it was obviously the Apollo lunar orbit rendezvous, which is the historical one that happened. There's also, of course, the Gemini direct ascent that would have used the Saturn V. And then you get this one, which is the most problematic one, which is a Gemini Earth orbit rendezvous, lunar orbit rendezvous. So you have two dockings that happen. So that's what makes it a little bit more challenging, because the more steps there are in your missions, the more things can go wrong. So I just think we're 17 seconds away. We're just going to leave it at 98 kilometers. That's fine. So we burn a little bit of this stage just to get it into orbit. So 18, 19, 20, we're getting a bit away from that now. Let me just see. Okay, it's not going to be the most circular orbit, but that's fine. We'll just go with that. So at least it's in orbit now. It does not have any solar panels or any fuel cells. So this thing has been told to go into hibernation automatically. So we just leave the thing now. That's it. So we go back to the Space Center now. Space Center. This part of the mission was good when I did this yesterday. It was the landing that was a big problem, but I did take a step to fix that. Hopefully we'll find out today. So we just load up the mission again. Open Gemini L. Again, I don't know if it was called Gemini L. I saw it somewhere, but anyway. So all that I did for this mission differently from yesterday was I just added another battery to the lander. It's a big one now, which is going to add more weight. So I'm not sure if we're actually going to be able to make it back into orbit after the landing, because the margins are quite small on this thing. But the problem is, because of the whole way that the craft is put together, it's not balanced. So with a pilot on the front, it keeps trying to sort of fall over. I have moved the engines forward a little bit, but the thing that makes it work is this gyroscope in the back, a small radial gyroscope, which is again one of the restock parts. And if the power runs out at any time, it's mission over, because the craft keeps spinning over the whole time, and the RCS can't compensate for that. And that's actually what happened yesterday. Let me just see, I'm losing things here. Will you build the lunar cord? Yes, I did an attempt of that on my own, and I got quite close, I think. So I know more or less how to do that. And one of the things that I use for the lunar cord is the robotic parts, the small alligator hinge. You use that for the lid on the top that opens and closes with the solar panels. So that actually is a part that makes all the difference trying to build that. Breaking ground, we need to change some models. We need to add the quadrant. Not sure, what do you mean by that, the quadrant? Breaking ground, we need to change some models about the lunar thing from Apollo. To just explain there, I'm not exactly following, but obviously we do need to fix some things. I assume what you mean, the engines that are different now, like the landing engine. I'm not sure. But just an interesting aside, even if that sounds completely not what you mean, if you do want to find the old parts from before breaking ground and all of that, you just go to your mode changer here and you look for things by, I think, diameter or by tech level. You should still find all of the different models here, the old ones. You see, there's, no, is that the old Twitch? Well, again, now everything is changed because of the mods. But we just have a look, just for interest's sake. This is now again taking us a bit off track, but I have seen these things here before. Now again, this is going to look different now. Just want to see, there's the old Terrier as well, so you can still make things work using the old parts. They're still all here, but obviously you don't see them if you don't go into the menus there. But anyway, I'm just going to close this now and just get us onto the launch pad. Okay, no new comments there. Next thing, just the crew. I think we're going to leave it the same that I did before. This is again a new save, so it's the basic crew. We'll leave Jeb and Bill, and then Bill can stay in orbit around the moon while Jeb does the landing. But it doesn't matter because the lander does have a probe core, so you can use any Kerbal for that. Let's just launch and see what happens, comrades. Yeah, it's a thing. I hope it works out. Again, yesterday I did the whole thing without practicing and it worked out except for the final stage. So maybe it was a good thing that whole thing disappeared. Right, so now we just have to wait for the land or the kicker thing to go around. I just want to take the debris off. Set as target. And we just wait until the thing comes around. Hopefully, actually yesterday's thing, again, it has its pluses and its minuses if you do it. You know, randomly things will go wrong and go right. With the ascent to meet the kicker stage, we actually came within a few kilometers just during the launch, and I think I waited too late now. So excuse me if I lose my focus here again. I'm just narrowing down on this now again. Just have to keep an eye on this. So this is not the Titan, this is a Saturn C3B. Now again, not an exact recreation. It doesn't even use the biggest engines. This is purely again the skippers, and the only way that I can use this is with a restock mod that allows you to take the big base off the engines. So that was enough for this, but it should be a much bigger rocket than this, really. If you think about it more historically, just want to see, don't want to turn too far there, something like that. So again, this is very underpowered based on what it can be, just because I took out all the fuel and all of that, just so it doesn't have the ability to take us all the way to the moon on its own already. The fuel tank boxes. Oh yes, you're absolutely right about that. With the different experiments, completely correct. That's a lot that we can do now. Also, especially with the, oh dear, there we go. Separate, ignite the next stage, and separate this. I also built this fairing here just so it looks a little bit like a Saturn. I don't know if this C3B would have had that fairing separate after the first stage, but why not just do it as a throwback to the Saturn V. Just get back onto target there. So yes, with the actual rovers as well, because of those robotic parts, we can try and crush the whole thing into the actual base of one of the landers, just to see if we can get one of the later Apollo missions like 15 and 16 and 17 to also work without having the rover literally hanging off of the side of the landing stage. So it's a very worthwhile DLC to get here, especially with the new helicopter things and propellers that I haven't even experimented with yet. Let's just see, I see lots of Russian. I salute you, comrades. I don't speak or read a word of Russian, so I'm just acknowledging you there. Now, this case, yes, we were a little bit too late here, so we missed the whole thing by a mile, or by much more than a mile. Now I just have to think, because we're behind, we actually want to be in a lower orbit now, so I'm just going to spin us around. This is now again not what I should be doing. Should I ditch that? Ditch the thing. We don't need it, it's almost empty anyway. Now I also have to press 10 just to get rid of that little nose cap there. And again, I could have just used the RCS. I'm not really thinking about the whole thing properly now. This is so not professional. Just to turn your rocket backwards and try and do it that way. That's enough. We just need to be a little lower so we can try and catch up with the kicker stage. Oh yes, the Russian. Well, all people are our friends, the comrades especially, so we rely on them when it comes to the N1 and all of that. So that's a very good thing. We have some tea while we wait just to get to Apps, and I can just spin us around. I did again, just like with the Saturn V, we just have a small little navigation pack on the bottom of what would have been the S4B, but in this case again, I don't know what this upper stage would have been called. I'm just actually using a Reliant engine for this, which is again not optimized for the job. But it's fine, it does everything that we need it to do because the payload is not so heavy. And then I'm just going to do the planning here. Actually, we don't have to. We just do it as we do in KSP. We just eyeball everything. I think we need to go just because this engine is not very powerful. More or less. We'll see. We eyeball it, comrades, and then if it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But I'm not going to revert and you know, to launch. And we will save a lot, but I'm not going to redo this mission. If it fails, it's a fail. And if they die, they die. Unfortunate, but realistic, I think. Speaking also of realism, I don't have the life support mods installed anymore. It was just a little too tedious, again with all of the new updates to the game, and then the mods break the thing and then you can't load the craft, and no. Just get rid of as much as possible and just use the basic things like restock, and that's it. And of course the visual mods. Now the thing here is, actually, no, let's keep going. We're just under it now. The thing is, it's going to take a little time to catch up, so I might actually just turn us around again. You should have seen me yesterday. It would have been so much better anyway. That's the way it goes, right? At least, hopefully, we're not going to fail this one like yesterday. There we go. 7, 6, 4... Okay, more or less. Let me see. Just want the N1. Absolutely. It's overdue. I acknowledge that. What mod changes the colors of the orbit or the suborbit? That is the trajectories mod. You see it right here. If I just go... Actually, it's better in this mode, but we won't see it now. It's just... I think it's very outdated, but it still works. So for example, this will tell you if you are re-entering exactly where you're going to splash down. It's not always 100% accurate, especially if you have a lifting body like a space plane. Then obviously the glide will change where you touch down, but it does give you a better idea of your actual re-entry position on the ground. When in doubt, just turn it around. Exactly, it works. So let's hope for the best here, more or less, right? Let me just see, we're not entering into the atmosphere again. Almost. Good grief. That's as close as you can get without actually going back into the atmosphere. Now, I think we can actually ditch this now. I just want to be absolutely sure. We do have our RCS on the craft. We have 163 meters. I think we'll leave it actually. We just do any final burn to match up the orbit, and then we dump this thing, and then we rely on the kicker. So let me just fast forward here. Warp to that position. So you'll also see there's nothing else in this game currently. Obviously it's only the debris that we brought with us now, but I just deleted everything else from the failed stream yesterday, just so we start fresh again and just pretend that we're going to the moon for the first time. And actually now I did forget something, the American flag for the landing. But since this didn't historically happen, I think it's okay. We can get away with that. Usually you can't get away with that. If you do an Apollo mission, you have to have an American flag, but we've done that already. Now, let's just see, where are we currently? If I just look at target, 24, that's fine. Get rid of this thing. Just get rid of it. Don't mess around. Now 58 seconds away, so the retro of the target is there, and we need to just push this thing towards that. Actually, I could have used that stage now, but that doesn't matter. Just press 1 to activate the onboard RCS. Yes, you see, now I'm regretting that I didn't keep that stage. I don't want to activate this engine. So I think we're going to do this from the kicker stage. That's its job anyway. Can I switch? Yes. No, I can't. That's the upper stage there. So I'm just going back to that. Switch to, and we'll use the fuel on this. That's what it was made for. Now I just have to obviously set the craft as the target, and then think quickly about this whole thing. Switch to retrograde. We do have RCS on board, so that should do the job. And that at least gets us a little bit closer, but now again it's spinning all around. That's fine. Let me just see. Admiral, you don't need to read this. That's that's alright. There you go. Right, so that will get us approaching the target. I just want to see where we meet up. So another 3 minutes. We can tweak that just a little bit as we get closer. And I think we're actually doing quite well here, despite that bit of a mess up there. No, let's tweak it when we get closer. More tea. An Admiral must always have tea. So, there we go. Let's see. 4 kilometers. Yes, so it obviously did change a little. Put the RCS back on. Now the question is, where's the retro now? It's actually the other way. Doesn't matter if we delay things a little bit here. It's better to take it slow and do it right. The only problem is if we dock in the dark. That is definitely not what I want. So we're gonna have to try and do this. No, we will dock in the dark. Actually, in that case, I'm just going to do station keeping until we get back to the day side. Just because with all of the mods, this is again the simplest graphics mods that you get. This is just the stock visual terrain mod and the stock visual enhancements mod. But still, with all of the combinations, including the distant object enhancement and the brightness and all of that, it makes the darkness very dark. So even for me, I'm not going to be able to see much on the dark side, and I want to keep it that way because that's realistic. So have some realism. Someone translate Russian. 100 million. Oh, that will never happen. That's fine. I'm just glad I have a comment this time on the stream because at least I know it's working. But you know, the whole thing is I'm doing this for fun, just purely for fun. So it doesn't really matter, not chasing subs and things. I'm always welcoming them, but I'm not chasing anyone. Say to me, American, what is it, power? I'm not sure. I'm not, well, you obviously ask the Americans, but I have no idea what that means. So yes, turn the RCS off. I just don't want to change the orbits too much now. Just gently tweak this whole thing. Bit more. Forgive me again if the camera is not situated properly. I know I'm looking down here the whole time and it looks kind of weird. It's better to have it from the side, but I don't have any monitors here. It's literally just the one monitor. So I did think about not having a camera, but there was a video that I saw that said the first rule of doing a live stream is you must have a camera. So I thought, okay, it doesn't really add much in my case to the whole thing because there's no professional studio and all of that in the background. But hey, let's just try it anyway, just to see, for the novelty, you know. Right, so I think that'll do. It still says 3 kilometers because it will change, but in this case it doesn't matter. I just want us to get back into the light side. And to that effect, I think let's just wait till we get the closest approach. We won't hit it now because we can see the two retrogrades don't match up. Just station keeping and then we'll do the docking in the daytime. And more or less something like that. Minecraft, it's a famous game, I'll get famous. Well, here's a funny story. I know Minecraft very well. It's still somewhere on this computer. I haven't touched it in years, so maybe for a bit of a throwback I'll do that. Maybe. It's not really my kind of style of play for the channel, but certainly that would be something that I'd be very happy to do. Okay, I think we'll just keep it here, so I'll just cancel our relative speed here, more or less. Now we just fast forward. Okay, where's the thing now? Don't go too far away. At least we see cities on the night side now. Okay. That'll do, so now I just have to get us back to the retrograde. The thing is also, I'm not trying to burn too much fuel on this stage. The margins are not that great, so we have to be a bit efficient here. So yes, that said, I shouldn't have dumped that other stage, but so be it. Okay, now I'm just going to say lock to the target, and that's the good thing about this stage here. It does have the big probe core, so it can do that. And then I'll just use the RCS to tweak the fine approach here, and then wait a little bit, because obviously it shifts as we move in the orbit. Actually a lot more than I thought, and it seems we are re-entering the atmosphere. That's why it's saying there's too many iterations to the orbit. Good grief, I hope the whole thing doesn't fall apart right here, because that would be bad, to have the whole thing flop right before we even do the docking. But hey, that's the thing, you never know how it's going to work out. RCS here doesn't matter, we can burn all of it. It's literally for this purpose, since we'll be discarding this stage right after this. And I think now I can just switch over to the Gemini and then control it from here. Again, the same thing, target lock. The good thing again is, because it's a sandbox, they are completely skilled here. They're all 5 stars, so they can do the same thing with the target lock. And that's it. So now we are set up. The thing is now obviously just to reduce our speed as we approach and then do the docking. So that's also why this whole mission configuration was a bit dangerous, because you don't only have the docking on the way back from the surface of the moon, you also have the docking just in orbit of Earth, just to get the whole thing going. But I suppose in a certain way there is also a benefit to that, because if the docking in Earth orbit was not successful, it's a lot shorter to get back home from low Earth orbit than from the orbit of the moon, so I guess it had a bit of redundancy built into it that way. So I would be very interested to see a mission like this happen in the future for real. Because again, this is something now that I haven't been following too much, like Scott Manley and all the other KSP members, you know, the KSP royalty, which I'm not, but you know, with the upcoming moon missions, Artemis and all of that. Because again, I know there was a whole thing about the SLS not being ready and so on. But why do we still have this reliance on these super heavy rockets to take the whole thing to the moon? Why don't we do this kind of thing with smaller rockets that we already have, and I mean we in general, to just put the things together in Earth orbit and then go from there? I don't know. You can actually get lots of different configurations if you think about it. You can do the whole thing Earth orbit rendezvous and then do a direct descent where you take that whole stack and land on the moon and return directly back to the Earth. Or you could even more curiously, I suppose, do only a lunar orbit rendezvous, where you send both the descent craft and the crew craft to moon orbit, dock them there, transfer the craft, land, return, dock again, and then return back home. But there's no reason on Earth that anyone would try something as crazy as that, which is maybe why I should do it sometime. But anyway, so you just mix the different steps and see what you get. Now we are approaching, so I should start slowing down, which is not going to be good because the thrusters are extremely weak here. Yikes, yikes, yikes. Ouch. Okay, it worked out. There was a bit of shock absorber built into this thing. That was faster than I was hoping. And is someone singing? They are actually singing with the chatterer mod. That was awesome, because it's obviously an occasion for that. So yes, now we're docked together. We are ready to now depart for the moon. I just want to double check now. The stage is still active, and that is the only thing that should be working. All that I need to do now is obviously to say control from here, which will change the whole thing around. And let me see. Goodbye, comrade. It was nice to see you for a short time. It's still, you know, it's an amazing thing for me to think I'm sitting here doing a live stream and there's actually at least one person there watching it, which is crazy to me. So I'm always very grateful for that. Now I see we're still actually re-entering the atmosphere here, so let's do something about that first. Doesn't matter really where in the orbit now. It's not totally at the apoapse, but it's fine. We just need to boost the whole thing a little bit. And then we'll see. Yeah, that's it. No more than that. And we can just leave it there. So the target is obviously the moon, set as target. And just like Apollo, I'm not sure how this would have gone in terms of the actual orbit, because with Apollo they did the figure 8 thing, so they would go around Earth, or Kerbal in this case, and then obviously swing around the moon in a retrograde fashion. Actually, I'm not going to do that this time. I did do it yesterday, but I was worried about that because, as it turns out, I think I was right to worry about it, because the lander has so little fuel for the return back to moon orbit, that the fact that it has to go retrograde relative to the moon and obviously then lose the velocity that the moon can add to it based on its rotation, that makes all the difference. But as it also turned out, I didn't even get off the moon because the electricity ran out, and based on that the thing just kept falling over, and that was that, as they say. Now, I don't need to approach too close here. 59 is fine, we'll tweak that again. So that's 872 meters per second. The problem, because all the stages are messed up here now, you can see the engine is actually on the last stage. It doesn't give an accurate reflection of the delta V, but based on my test and the experience yesterday, it should be enough. Mr. Blackbird, I am from Cape Town, South Africa, which is where I am right now. I did live in Australia for a few years, but that was only to study there for a PhD, which didn't actually work out. That's a whole other story, but I am doing another PhD here now in Cape Town, so at least I can't say it was a waste. It was a wonderful thing to live there as well. So, yes, I would say so. It's a nice place to visit. Especially in the summer. It's so cold here now. I'm sure a lot of people will laugh about that, because cold for me is when it gets around 10 degrees Celsius, and last night we got down to about 4 or 5, which is the coldest that we get in winter ever. So I was really freezing, but obviously if you are more experienced with real winters, you'll think that's very funny. But yes, still, good thing to visit in summer, especially if you want to visit Cape Town, because our rainy season is in the winter, so obviously it's better for a visit to come in the summer. So, we are 50 seconds away now. I just want to make sure that we do the lock to maneuver here, and I do like this feature. That's why I'm not using the Kerbal engine here anymore. I'm just using the built-in assistance, apoapse and periapse and all of that. I think it's doing a very good job, and we can also skip to the next maneuver that way. So yes, we'll see what happens now. It says we have a 1 second burn, which is worrying me a little, because that is not quite accurate. Now, why would it say that? I guess it's just because of the staging is all wrong. So I think we'll go now. At least we're moving in the right direction, and the delta V is coming down, so we're doing something right. Now, do we have enough fuel? I think so. I have some confidence there. -5C is crazy, and -4 as well. The little time that I stayed in Australia, it was in Canberra, which is also one of the coldest places in winter, 6, 7, somewhere around there. It's the worst that we got. And to me that was just unfathomable. But yes, I don't want to live in a place where it snows and you have to trudge through miles and miles of snow. I know I'm exaggerating, but anyway, it feels like that. So yes, we're just on vapors now. We did pass the target a little bit, so we actually have an impact now with the moon, which is actually what I should have wanted in the first place, because that means we get rid of the upper stage, the kicker. So now we just undock from the thing. It's the other one there. Undock. And now, so we added too much, so now we have to take a bit away again. Just switch the craft and move us to the side a little. If I'm doing this right, which I'm not. Just so we don't slam back into it. Point to the retrograde, that's fine. And now we need to take away some of our speed again. So it's going to go slow, but that's why we do have the RCS. Am I right now? We burned too much, so obviously that lowered it. So we have to take some away, but I'm doing it the wrong way, so I'm actually adding to the speed. Not good. Need to pay attention here, because we're going backwards. Southernmost Brazilian state. Good grief. Well, at least Brazil as a whole is a very wonderful country, and you have lots of warm places there, so I think at least there's an option. If you're tired of the cold, you can go somewhere nice. I would always love to visit Brazil. See, can play Soviet KSP, plays you. Exactly right. We have Kazakhstan. Exactly. Now it's going a bit slow still. I think we might actually just use the engine here. No, there we go. I suppose we'll go for a relatively low orbit around the moon. Let's say 15. Just to give us a bit of margin there. Don't want to make it too much, just so we don't have to spend too much fuel on the lander. So that's it. There's no other thing to do right now except turn off the RCS. All of the antennas are built into this service module stage here. So it's going to be a bit of a cramped journey to the moon, but that would have been the case with Gemini anyway. And that's why it wasn't really a viable option. Although of course it's not comfortable. Yes, it's very cramped. There's no room to really move around, but if that's the only way to get to the moon, then I would do it. I would sign up in a heartbeat, even without training, and I'd die quickly, but hey, that's one of the things. So yes, the plan is to get to the moon, but we're using the one of the variants of the Gemini approach to the moon. It's the Earth orbit rendezvous, lunar orbit rendezvous mission. So it's only just to land on the moon, and I know that's setting the bar very low as far as bars go, but I think it's just again based on the whole moon hysteria that's happening this weekend, based on the anniversary of Apollo 11, which is a good opportunity to just do something, you know. It's always good to just enjoy the experience. Now what is that? That's the kicker, which is now going to blow up on the moon, but that's fine. So we'll just warp ahead now, and I'll have some tea. And we'll just make sure that we're doing things right here. So that thing is going to crash into the moon, which is the plan, and then we'll just warp a little bit further. And there it goes. Goodbye. Getting just rid of all the debris. And we'll just put ourselves into a relatively circular orbit. I'm not going to worry too much about it. 14 by 15, that's perfectly fine. And we'll just lock onto the target. And we'll move forward. So let me see. Any in the stream or reach, you would build another N1 or another Apollo. I'm not sure. I think there's... I think I'd probably... If it was a choice only between those two, I think Apollo. Probably. Just because it worked out in real life, so at least we have a bit of confidence that it does work. And also, just because if I now think if I was one of the astronauts on the mission, the problem with the N1 was still the fact, just like this Gemini, they're actually quite similar in a sense, where the astronaut, again, it's a single person landing on the moon, which is a risk in itself. If something goes wrong, then you're all alone there. It's not much that you can do. But the plus side is if someone dies, it's better that one person dies than two people. But anyway, that's splitting hairs there. The thing is, the real problem coming back, you have to do the EVA to get back into the return capsule, which is another big risk. So I think Apollo. Message retracted. Oh, I think it said hello. So I greet you, comrade. Poland into space. Of course Poland can into space. If South Africa can, which it hasn't really, but at least there's a few South African satellites in space, that's something, I guess. So Poland can do much better, I would hope. So yes, 2 minutes out, I'm just going to switch to the map view and use the next maneuver. That's the best way to avoid going beyond the maneuver node, just to use that feature. And we're about a minute out. So now again we're going to be losing contact with Kerbal, since there's no other satellites in orbit here. But that's alright, just have to... actually this part will still be in contact. It's the only when we're in orbit that we'll lose the contact. So let's see, when is the landing? No idea. Should be soon though, hopefully, at least with this mission. So yes, let's just speed up a little bit more. 11, 10, 9, 8. This part is all fine, I think. It's really just the lander that's a big challenge. And ignite, obviously. So this is a Terrier engine, but it's again the restock version of the Terrier engine, so it looks a little bit strange. And they also have their own plume effects there. I don't have the real plume mod installed anymore, just to save a little bit of a few frames here and there. Not really a big deal though. So yes, we're on our way, comrades. That is true, Soyuz does have the orbital module. I'm not sure, maybe it would have to be a totally new craft that has the strengths of both and the weaknesses of neither. Somehow that can expand the living space of the Apollo module, but I guess they could live a bit in the lunar lander as well. I don't know, but I always think both sides can contribute something to the debate. Now the thing is, I just need to think about this. What we want to aim for now is a landing near the dawn on the moon, just again to maximize the shadows there for the actual landing. So it would have to be somewhere here, but the problem with that is that's out of range of Kerbal, so we're actually going to have to go for somewhere around here. There's no specific place in mind. We have visited the Apollo Memorial on the moon already in a previous video with the actual Apollo, so I'm not going to do that now. I suppose we'll just land somewhere here, even if it's in the middle of the day. It doesn't matter. I suppose in a sense it's better if you just have one crew member, because better visibility for a craft like this is not a bad thing, because they're literally sitting in an open area. They don't even have windows to worry about. So we'll just open that now, and I'll just check again. Upside down Soyuz landing on the moon. Buran jet engines. That's true though. Buran, I think, didn't they take the jet engines off for the actual tests that they did in the late 80s? I think they might have done that just to get the thing going. I'm not sure, but the plan was obviously to have the jet engines, and then they found that that was not enough, so they added another pair of jet engines on the top. So in that sense, Buran is definitely a superior thing. So Possibly some kind of combination of Buran with a, let's say, a Soyuz capsule and then a type of lander that, something like that. You know, there's lots of different combinations that you can use to get to the moon. Now, let me just think. We're going now the right way around, so it's actually around here that I'm going to have to burn. We'll just speed up here, just to get around to the light side. Also true, Buran is very expensive, and so was the shuttle, and a lot of people have said that's actually why the whole space program sort of ground to a halt a little bit, just because the shuttle didn't really meet all of the expectations of it. I don't know. It's difficult to say. I suppose that is true. And of course it wasn't the safest thing. But anyway, so now it's time to do the separation here. Now, obviously, this is not an exact recreation of the lander, the Langley Light Lander, just because the actual Langley Light Lander had a sort of a glass, almost like a windshield and a little cabin for the crew person to get into. And that's not the case here. It's literally just the seat there. So, also then the idea is to get into that before you separate, but we can't do that here. So I'm just going to separate that now. Actually, F5, I haven't even done that once. And then decouple the node, and now the thing is, can I push it out, or am I going to have to use a little bit of a magic trick here? It's actually the other way. No, it's coming out. Okay, fine. Otherwise, obviously, you just have to time warp, and then it will go right through the other craft. Right, so lights, leave the lights on. Like Mir, yes, Mir was there, but it didn't actually obviously get to the very final part, which is still hanging out there in on the to-do list. Mir, Buran, yes, exactly. Have to get my reading skills up, you know. Buran wasn't rebuilt after every mission, the engines, because obviously it wasn't the same kind of engines that burnt during the ascent. That's very true, so the turnaround times would have been a lot quicker. Anyway, I think the thing is to close the doors there and just get Jeb out. Now we'll leave Bill here, so he's now on his own, and just catch this thing before it drifts away too far. There you can actually see very well the engines are a bit offset on the craft. Just need to grab the seat now. Board. Okay. Big thing here, when the power runs out we die. So this is out anyway. Yay, so we didn't make a mess there. Well, I did, I should take my responsibility. So we are out of power, that is bad. Bad news. I'm going to have to F9 here. Good thing, thank goodness I saved. Did I save now before the separation? Good grief, I did. Now the question is, do we have any power in other batteries? Otherwise this mission is already a fail. There should be other batteries on this craft. Just need to be able to zoom in here, aim the camera. Yikes. Yeah, it's all empty. Oh, it's a fail, it's a bust. Now the question is why? Why was this one a bust? I think it's because it took longer. That's the thing, the failed thing yesterday worked out because I met up immediately after the the launch, so there wasn't the whole waiting to leave for the moon, so all the batteries ran out. But we're going to save this thing now. Artemis, yes, the Artemis program. Well, I have to say I'm not the biggest expert on that. I've just sort of been following it very loosely. I guess all I can say is I'm hopeful. The thing is, again, like I was saying before, there's such a reliance again on these big rockets like the SLS just to get the thing going that I wonder if it wouldn't be better if it was this kind of mission where first the actual craft met up in Earth orbit and then went to the moon instead of having a bigger rocket to take the whole thing there, because then we can use existing things already, like the Falcon and the Delta IV and all of that. So obviously with some modifications, then we don't need all of these new rockets and things. I know they are very far along developing the SLS anyway, but big thing always is now the next politician comes along and then they cancel the project again, and then or they change it and want to put their own spin on it again, and then obviously that's not ideal. Now in this case here, because we're out of power now, I'm going to not revert. Obviously that's not possible anymore. I'm just going to the Space Center and we're just going to throw together a quick solution to this problem. So obviously we don't want to wouldn't want to do this in real life, where you actually have a problem and now you have to build the craft from scratch while people are waiting in moon orbit. So yes, we'll see. So I think first of all we just want to do a very simple thing here. I'm just going to use an Octo, and again this is not going to be the prettiest craft, because that wasn't really something that I planned for. Just want to see. So all I need with this is a very basic docking port, one of the small RCS tanks, 20. Actually, I think what I might do, let's just build the thing up a little bit. So what I want is one of these structural tubes. So I'll just put that forward like that. Now again, this is not going to be my proudest moment, comrades. We'll just make something here and see what comes of it. Something like that. Again, no strange gaps in between the parts, and just throw that on the top. And now we can put something in there, or not really. We're not going to worry about that now. We'll just use a bigger RCS pack here, just so we can use this. It'll obviously be necessary for the docking, but just as a bit of redundancy there. Then I also want the big battery packs, not the super big ones, but a couple of these, and that'll do. Obviously we should have solar panels. The Gemini thing also should have had solar panels, but I didn't go with that because I don't think the planned one had that. But yes, the planned one never got to the final actual stage of getting ready for the launch. Now we just need an upper stage. Check where the center of mass is. Just drop this down. Just use the basic terrier thing again, and obviously the RCS blocks, just like that. And we will need an antenna or two just for the symmetry. I'll use 2 of them, and just like that. Now the big thing about the restock mod is it does give you all of these options for the RCS thrusters, which really should be in the base game. It's a thing I like a lot, because we get the dual blocks, we get the triple ones that point the one way, and of course you get the angled ones. You also get the 5-way versions that go to the sides as well. So actually we could even use that. Let's do that. Then we only need 2 of them, because we don't need the ones on the side to translate. We just use these ones anyway. So let me just have a look here. The Falcon Heavy does need to be made, you're right, absolutely. But how to land boosters, I have no clue. I have no clue how to do that. It'll be just discarded in my case. I know you get a specific mod that actually allows you to recover parts if you use parachutes on them, but it's not a proper landing, so I think that's a little bit of a challenge there. Now, is this thing right? We just need that's it, and of course the power. So in this case I might actually just stick with the Titan that we have already. So let me just put a decoupler on this thing, not that one, and load up the craft. Don't save this. Bring the kicker, merge it into here, and press shift and then just pick that one. And that's it. That is way too big a fairing, but we'll just keep it because we pretend now we have to do an emergency mission, so we don't have time to reconfigure the fairings and all of that. So in this case, just make sure everything is working properly, and we separate those, we separate that, get rid of the fairing, that and that. Okay, and we'll just call this no idea. Untitled spacecraft might seem like a bit of a cop-out, but it's also a bit of a throwback to the, you know, the name that people use most commonly. Let's just say battery, I don't know. I have no idea what to call it. We'll just call it Untitled Spacecraft 2, just to be funny. Right, let's just get this thing off the ground here. I will need help for that, comrades, but I think we would need to just get the N1 and all of those things done first before we get to more complicated things with boosters and all of that need to be landed. So yes, let's just launch this thing and I can have a bit more tea. And it does, actually this was not planned, but it does have the South African flag there, and it's great to be South African, and that was not a product placement, I promise you. That just happened to be the mug that I chose for today. And okay, now there's a couple of problems here. I didn't think the thing through all the way. I should have used a different probe core because I can't even lock to prograde, so I'm really gonna have to focus on this now. So I see things moving there in the corner of my eye. I'll just have a look at them in a second. I'm just locking onto that now, because if this thing starts swerving to the side, we're gonna lose it. And it's a lot lighter, so it's gonna pick up speed more quickly now. Get rid of that. Almost hit the thing there. Right. Okay, I think as soon as we just get to about 20 kilometers, it's fine. It's just because this big fairing is going to catch the air and then it's going to flip over. Okay, just leave it there. And we're overspeeding again. I really do try to avoid that, but I guess it's just a bit of an overload right now. This looks like the Titan 2 with the bug boosters. This episode sponsored by the government, you know, if only. I think they have bigger things to worry about than sponsoring individual people. Lots of issues there with corruption and all of that. That's a whole other story. But actually then it should be appropriate that they sponsor me, because it's about their money, right? The big, yes. So you get the, I'm not sure all of the versions of the Titan 2, but I know you get the Titan 3C and you get the Titan 3E. Now this was an attempt at the Titan 3E. Now I don't really know what the difference is. I think it's just coming down to the Centaur upper stage, which is, this is again a pathetic attempt at it. I just used one of the heat shields with the black coloring there. You get that with the restock mod. And then obviously just took the ablator off, and I'm using the cheetah engines here just to give the kind of dual engine effect. Now of course you could use the new Poodle engine, I think, that does have the 2 nozzles, but in the restock plus mod they actually give it 4 nozzles. Okay, that's crazy. It's way too high for an apoapse, but it doesn't matter. We just need to get this into an orbit and then send it to the moon. Basic stuff, I guess. So yes, it's just that I have to get used to this idea of doing multiple things. Now we'll just speed up to apoapse. There's no docking in this stage, so it's easy to do. Just get this done, and now just turn. Now, of course, the problem here is it doesn't really have a big reaction wheel, or any for that matter, so we just have to use the engines to turn this part. You can imagine the panic that people would have had if this happened for real. Then they would be dead, obviously. There's no help coming. Right, that's fine. Now we just plan for the orbit to the moon. So let me see here, the Poodle engine. Well, you can still get the old Poodle engine. You just look at the side there at the top. You click all of the different buttons to see different parts, and you just search. The old Poodle is still somewhere there. So yes, are you hungry? Let me see, who's hungry? Jeb, are you hungry? What about Admiral? No, I'm fine, thank you. I'm still okay. It is almost dinner time though, so I'll say that. And now, can I just plan something here? So obviously we have to be going the same way that the previous craft went, so around the moon anti-clockwise. Actually, we should probably be burning now. No, it's too late. Should we? No, we'll wait. We'll just go around again. Or is it though? No, we've passed the point already. Otherwise it's going to complicate things too much. So again, I'm not worried about the apoapse there. I just need to get to that point. So we'll just speed up a little bit and take care of that. And then I'll get rid of this stage, I think. I should recreate more modern spacecraft. The thing is though, that's always the thing that scares me a little bit about making recreations, and that's why in this case I didn't really go for a more accurate kind of recreation. And that is, there's always somebody out there who knows more about the craft than I do, and then I guess that's why it's better to do that in a live stream kind of situation, because then people can tell me where to improve. Otherwise it's just, you know, people don't necessarily know why I did the things that I did, or I didn't do it correctly and all of that. So there is a danger, and I think I mentioned that somewhere at the very beginning before we started with the big builds like the Saturn V, where if you try to make things too accurately, it just sort of devolves into this kind of spiral where it doesn't become fun anymore. You're just trying too much. It should be close, but obviously this is a Kerbal version of the real thing, so we're not going to be able to do everything exactly. But you're absolutely right. And I'd love to see what the final configuration for the Artemis is and all of that, so we can do that. And also give them alternative proposals for that. That would be nice. Actually an Artemis kind of thing using different configurations for the mission. So yes. X15, you know, I'll never forget one of the series that I did before I started doing the recreations and all of that. It was also a kind of historical progression type of thing, and I did make an X15 knockoff, and it killed the first Kerbal that got into it, and then I just was like, oh, okay, we'll just move on from there. I think I stopped with the lunar landing. That was the last episode I did in that series. I think so. That was the last one before I switched over to the Soyuz and all of that. But of course these days there are much better people doing that, like Gameplay Review UK. That is an excellent channel and much better than I can do in terms of recreations historically and all of that. My issue now is, does the solar panel have light? It looks like it. Yes, that is my wish, and I think if I can only just get this whole setup to work and be a little bit more professional each time, then I'd like to do it in a live stream way more frequently, just because again there's an added element to it, not just me playing and then looking at a comment later. It's a bit more interactive, and you know, then it's doing the thing and it's uploading it straight after to the channel as well, and there's no editing and anything like that. So it does have its benefits in that sense, but it's also got its drawbacks in the sense that all of my fumbles and all of that will also be in it, and all of my amateurish ways. But anyway, that is, I guess, what makes it what it is. Right, so we just go to periapse there. Is this a hyperbolic orbit or a parabolic orbit? I'm not sure. It's the open orbit still. I think hyperbolic is just sort of the flyby. I'm not sure. Parabolic is more of a curve. I'm not sure. Talking out of thin air here. Embarrassing myself too much. Right, 500 meters per second on this stage. It's fine. We just need to get this thing into an orbit and then we can take it from there. Just to sort of get close. Luckily it's an equatorial orbit in both cases, so we don't have to worry about that too much. And just complete this. Set as target, and we are 7 degrees off, which is a bit more than I would have liked, but not much to do about that. So I think now we get rid of this stage just because it's so much easier to maneuver without it. And then first priority is just to cancel out this inclination. So we're 7 degrees, going always the wrong way first. Was that the right way? Now we're sitting like this. Close enough, I think. What's that? 0.6. Why settle for close enough when we can just do it right the first time? One of the habits that I need to change. Right, so this is with the Terrier engine and it's only 26 meters per second, so I think this calculates the new engine. This is obviously the built-in planning node thing that tells you when to start burning, but it's been pretty good, so I like that. I think it's just, I don't even need to worry about activating the engine. You see it doesn't change, so it does take account of that. Now we can just use this again, next maneuver, and just get to about 50 seconds away, and then I can take it from there. Just because I always get into the habit of speeding up right before we get to the target, and then I miss the thing, and that's not what I want to do now. Close enough. What was I just saying about not doing things just close enough? Just do them right in the first place. But anyway, see, now I'm talking more to myself than to anyone else. Yeah, these are the things that I would normally take out of the videos. But anyway. Okay. 0.3, it's fine. Now, okay, we'll see. We'll see what to do now. Just going to try different configurations. So we see there, there, it should be somewhere like that. Almost holding my breath again. How close is that? 20... 12. 12 is okay. We can live with 12, but I think it's actually going to be closer if we just wait. But not that far. Okay, now things get quiet because I'm desperately trying to not mess this up. Okay, 3 is close enough. Again, going against the advice that I was just saying, but anyway. Yes, back, what's going on? Yes, we are landing on the moon. Of course, we took a bit of a detour now because we ran out of power in orbit around the moon, which is, of course, something that could have been avoided, but it makes it a bit more interesting. I guess the whole thing would have been over already if I did that correctly. Literally just landing on the moon and planting a flag and leaving a little message there for Apollo 11, and that will be basically that. And just to iron out the basic bugs with live streaming, and by basic I mean like turning the thing on in the first place before I speak for 2 hours and then nothing happens, which is what happened yesterday. Right. Close enough. I should stop saying that. And I just missed the whole thing. It's because we're locked now. We're on the far side of the moon, so I can't see the updated information here. That still says 3.6, but I think that was the planning there, and I burnt a little too much, so I'll just have to watch as we approach, and then I can update it again. So yes, unfortunately I already just went with a basic flag, so unfortunately we'd have to go all the way back to pick up a new flag, but maybe for the next one, eh? That would be something to like take suggestions for the flags. Now this is now 8, just see, we're going down a bit low here. Now what do I need to do to fix this? Just basically burn prograde. And then just to see if we get closer than 3 kilometers there. Right, that's close enough. I'll just speed up to that point and then we'll do this docking there. Yes, exactly. If Apollo 11 could only go back and do that, eh? But, you know, he might sponsor one of the future moon landings, so we shouldn't be joking too soon there. Now, target is 63 and it's moving a bit fast, so just have to pay attention to this. Right, 23 is much better, and I think we are pretty much on target. I just need to cancel some of the speed as we get closer, and then I'll take it from the other side just to get the docking done, and then we can finally do a moon landing. Okay, 0.7 is fine. I'll just spin around so we can at least point in the right direction, because I can't tell this thing to do a target lock, so I have to do that manually. Now again, you're not seeing anything here, and I'm sorry for that. I'm not seeing anything either other than the nav ball. It's literally just a black blob there, and it's just because everything is so dark here. And again, now we just have to go with that. We can see the outline if we just hold it like that. So switch to the craft and tell it to do the target. So this is obviously all unintentional, so that's why we're doing this now in the night side. Just if we can just get the power working, then we can do the landing. So I'm just to see where is the marker now. Okay, so that's a retrograde there. Should have had better RCS packs on this, but it's fine, it works. I should just remember what happened last time with the retro burn. Do it before the time. So yes, there's our magnificent craft. We can only see a kind of outline there. Absolutely, Area 51. That would be an amazing time, comrades. It's only too sad that I'm sitting on another continent for that to happen. But anyway, right, 180 meters, speed up. And why is it going in that direction? That is not supposed to happen. Right, more or less. I think that's my motto from now on. And I have to switch. I'm starting to sweat now. It's a funny thing. The whole thing is because this is not pointing in the right direction. Might do it from here now. It's overpowered. I see things moving there. I'll have a look right now. Really should have put a light on this, but anyway, we see the thing approaching, and time to F5, don't you think? Good grief. It's funny how much concentration that takes. But that should work. Should being the operative word. I always think back to that milestone of mine where I did the docking from inside the LEM, and it was like approaching the thing. That was a high point for me, so I don't think I'll ever equal that. But anyway, so now we can start from scratch again. F5. Good grief. So yes, we're going to aim again for this general area of the moon, just because now it's the day has shifted, and of course because the scale is less here in KSP, the day on the moon is also a lot shorter than in real life, which is 2 weeks obviously for a day and 2 weeks for a night, more or less. So we are sort of losing the daylight now. But yes, anyway. Moon made of flags, exactly. Well, you know, each mission could have a different flag, so that's not a bad thing necessarily. Oh yes, Indian movies and dances. Right, we're over this crater now, so I'm just going to do due diligence and just save again, and now we have to do the transfer of the power. Now this is the whole thing that where we pick up again where we should have left off, or where we just should have continued. So now the problem is just seeing the battery there. Obviously it's charging because of the solar panels. What am I doing? Can I transfer power? There, just have to click the right thing. So the whole landing is going to hinge on the power in that power cell on the lander. If that runs out, it's over. So cross your fingers. So yes, Indians on the moon. Isn't the Chandrayaan mission being planned soon to land somewhere in the south pole of the moon? Obviously it's not a manned mission, but I'm sure that is something for the future. Okay, F5 again, separate the craft, decouple node, spin us around just to release the thing from the cargo bay, or just do it the quick and dirty way. Teleport it through the walls, and there it is. Now this is again where we should have been, so let's continue from here. Jeb is departing from the Gemini craft and approaching the seat on the approximation of the Langley Light Lander, which is a dirty approximation. I know this is not accurate at all, but hey, it's something, right? So now the reason why I have a probe core as well is because if we just control it now, we're looking at the horizon from Jeb's perspective, so straight ahead, so that makes it far too difficult to control. So I just have to find the probe core now and see if I can actually find it. Good grief, it should be just somewhere here. There it is. Alright, so I just have to say hibernate is auto. I should have charged this as well, but okay, it's only 5 power. So control from here. Now the whole change happens in the view there. Turn off the RCS, we have very little of it, and we can just actually begin the burn because we're more or less at the target, which was just beyond this crater. We're not aiming for anywhere specific, just in the daytime. So we have 1500 meters per second of delta V. Given a bit of inefficiency with the landing and the ascent, it's not necessarily going to be a huge amount, but I think it's fine. And the same thing is happening as before, with Jeb chattering his teeth the whole time because he's so nervous, but he tries to smile through the pain, but it doesn't quite work. Well, you can imagine that is quite justified, because landing in something like this alone on the moon is not necessarily the most desirable thing. And then we'll just see what we can make of that. The return thing, there's some different information about that. If you look at, again, the kind of model that I'm using, Buzz Aldrin's Space Program Manager, which is not necessarily giving everything in a perfectly historical way. They show that the Langley Light Lander actually docks, its bottom docks to the top of the Gemini craft, and then obviously the person goes on an EVA back into the capsule again. But I've also read somewhere that there is no actual docking involved after returning from the moon, but I assume there has to be, just because they would not have had a jetpack for that. As far as I know, they would have just had to climb out and then try and grab onto the Gemini capsule. So that's close enough. We'll just go from there. So we're not going to have a super dramatic view here. We'll just be landing on one of the flat areas between the craters. So we'll see what happens then. Flying in a space chair. If it gets you there, it gets you there, right? So yes, we'll see. Hold my Tesla. Well, I'm sure Elon would have been able and will be able to do it with a lot more flair than I can. So that is something that we will see in the future. So yes, when we return, we're going to have to use the little speck of monopropellant just to get us close. Obviously, again, I didn't want to put too much on here because the weight will add a little bit too much of a drag onto our Delta V there, which is a very strange image since there's no drag involved, but it's plain, it's not the best thing. We want to be as light as possible. Now in this case, again, there's no plan. We just land and place a flag and then see if we can return home safely. Now again, the actual light lander looked a lot better than this. You had a nice windscreen and you know, it was a bit more like a cabin, but it was completely open on the sides, so practically it's not very different. And Jeb's teeth are still chattering. He's sure he's not gonna make it. But yes, we'll see. And basically we will just see what we can do. Now these are Ant engines. They don't gimbal and they are obviously very weak even for the moon, so we don't want to leave the burn for too late. Can't do too much of a suicide burn, but that's actually fine. The problem is also because they don't gimbal. As soon as the battery power runs out, then the gyroscope no longer functions, and that's when things fall apart. That is true. The EVA pack is very useful. Now obviously again, that's not a historical kind of recreation, but that's not what I'm going for. The thing is, actually, yesterday when I did my attempt at a live stream, because the whole thing fell apart on the moon, I was out of power on the lander. I tried to use Jeb's jetpack to get back to orbit, but because we used that on the surface of the moon just to try and get some samples, there wasn't enough. And yes, but ideally you're absolutely right. That is, I shouldn't use the jetpack just because it's going to be necessary. And what was I saying about not leaving the burn for too late? F9 is your friend. Sorry. He survives. Okay, should we go with it and try your exact idea right now? Ouch. Okay, well, he did use a little bit of the propellant to get into the craft. We'll try it now. Okay, this is not what I had in mind. It's another happy landing, exactly. Oh dear, well. It seems I'm still controlling the craft because I don't know what's happening here. Jeb was kicked out, but he's somehow still attached to it. This is actually quite perfect, I have to say. Well, there we are. A happy landing, right? Happy anniversary to Apollo 11. It could have been so much worse, but it wasn't, so that's a good thing. Now, yes, we'll keep it like this, so if we can't make it back to orbit, then that is going to be the end of the story here. I just want to see if we can find any of those moon rocks on the surface, because, well, the thing is now I shouldn't do that, because if I go flying around in search of them, I'm going to use up all of the propellant here, so Yes, oh, exactly, and here we are, absolutely. Well, that might be one back there. They do look a little bit different from the normal scatter objects, but it's too far. We'll just grab a normal sample and call it a day, right? Take a surface sample, and this is again just the highlands. Nothing fancy here. Large number of materials layered over time. Grab that. And a report, of course, to say we were here. And it's too funny to see all these little thrusters floating around on the moon. But anyway. Now comes the real moment of truth, of course. This is why we're here. This is just a footprints and flag project here. This is not really a very scientifically aimed mission. So again, I think it's more or less the same with the actual plan for this kind of mission in real life. Because it was an open lander, there was no possible way that the person going down to the moon could have stayed very long. It was literally land, go out, pick up some samples, plant the flag, do the speech and get back in and leave. So we're going to pretty much do the same thing. So this is just going to be Apollo 11 anniversary, and we're just going to put a plaque here to those who turn small steps into giant leaps. And that's that. Time to go home. What do you think? At least we have a nice view here. So if he does stay on the moon, it's not the worst thing in terms of what he can see there. So yes, that's pretty much an ideal place for a base, actually. Now that I think about it, just because there's so much. Obviously, it's not the dramatic vista of being inside a crater, but there's a lot of flat land around here, and just seeing the planet on the horizon there is not a bad thing at all. So lots of places to explore here as well. And again, I am using the texture pack. What's the thing called? Stock Visual Terrain mod. That's it. That just adds a little bit more definition to the terrain. Now we can't see much of it here because we're just seeing a flat hill here. But if we saw the mountains, it just adds that extra bit. Because I always thought the moon, in terms of its textures, it's very plain. It's not a very interesting, dramatic place to visit. But I guess, again, that's expected because the moon is just grey. But we want to see some nice mountains and things. Anyway, footprints and flags, aka facepalm, and another flag for the collection. Exactly. Absolutely correct. Now, are we gonna just wait? I think so. It's not... there's no way to get around this. So again, the real astronaut would also have had just the one orbit around the moon to do whatever was necessary to do and then leave. So I guess that's more or less right. I'm gonna F5, so we are now committed to the actual broken lander here. So now let's see if we can get back. Alright, RCS back on, and let's see if we can go. Try and just add as much speed as possible. There's no mountains in the way here, so we're not really in danger of colliding with anything. Now we'll see. Again, I'm not doing it most efficiently. I'm sure someone else could do it even better. Just try and put the thrust forward, not up really. And then we'll see if we can make it. Rescue 10 reserve stages to be sure it works. You know, you're absolutely right. Do the direct ascent now where we need an entire Nova rocket and bring a whole new crew. And then that thing also ends up not exactly working out. But hey, maybe it does. At least he gets a nice view on the way back. And, well, we'll see if he makes it. Fuel is fine. I think that was really just the thing. You have to be sure that you have your full propellant storage there. If you use it on the moon, it's not gonna work. Right, so where are we now? We can't see. Okay, we are basically at the apoapse. Just keep going. Yes, we can't see that in the other view like you can with a normal craft. Okay, we're just twisting a little bit off there. Just want to make sure we're not burning to the side. Alright, go back, check. So we just have to stay right behind the apoapse now. Just try and do it from there. That would be a challenge, the full stack. I wonder how many Saturn V's we'd need to actually send a Saturn V to the moon. I heard, what was it for the console version of KSP? You actually get a launch site on the moon, which I'm sure we will get one day, but I don't know how I feel about that necessarily, because it's nice, but how does it happen that there's already a base on the moon, even if you just try and do your first moon landing? Yeah, so we're going to have to also account for the inclination now. I didn't do that properly. But I'm not doing it with a jetpack. Let's see, it's almost there, almost there. We will make it, I think. So, as it turns out, the advice was just at the right time. So, thank you for that, Quantum. Absolutely wise. And you had a vision about the future. And it came true. Pardon me. I'm so overcome with my failure. Now, let's wait just a little bit more. You need to make this as efficiently as possible. Soyuz capsule has a thing for spacewalks. Exactly. That's the thing. So it's obviously more appropriate for the actual moon mission, the N1. So we can also, of course, take the, what was it, the EOR 700 for the direct ascent. I did do again a rough approximation in an earlier video for that, but it wasn't again as good quality as I would have liked. Just a bit of an experiment. Now you see, in this view we keep drifting away from the prograde. Don't like that. Maybe it's just a visual thing, but better not take a chance there. Fuel, uh-oh, he's dead. Well, that's it. That's it, comrades. He is dead on the first mission. I'm not gonna revert. It is what it is. Like the real Apollo missions, there was a very high element of danger with the mission. So I'm sorry to let you down, Quantum. I failed you. I was not as efficient as I should have been. You see, we just needed a slight little bit more. Well, F for Jeb, I guess. Yikes. Embarrassing, but hey. Maybe now let's. Should I do the F9 or should I not do the F9? You have 3 minutes and 55 seconds to decide. I guess, you know, just to bring him back again. Yes, it's just not enough. Oh well. Do it. Now when you say do it, do you mean do it as in leave him, or do it as in press F9? Time is running out. It happens, comrades. It happens, I guess. Speech from Nixon. What was that about again? Those who went to the moon have stayed in the moon or stayed on the moon. I remember something like that. Unbreakable parts cheat. I don't actually know that cheat. Yes, I think F9 is probably the right way. We're gonna have to do that. Yes, let's do that. Read my last comment. Soyuz capsule. Can't wait for the N1. Fun fact, on the Soyuz capsule for the N1, it has a thing for spacewalks that was on the Voskhod, not Vostok, and same with the lunar. LK Land has the same thing too. Now when you say the same thing, do you mean like the actual sort of, how can I put it, docking, not docking, but you know, the sort of spacewalk hatch and all of that, or what exactly do you mean? Let me show this. This is my last comment. Imagine being in that. Yes, not good. Fate has ordained, that's it, that the men who went to the moon to explore in peace will stay on the moon to rest in peace. Or peace is, as it happens. Now, we'll do the F9, obviously. We'll just do it. Do the right thing, you know. And for some reason, F9 is not... Oh, it was because I was still selecting the chat window. Right, now, time for plan B. Let me just... wipe my nose here to all the unprofessional things that we do and they normally edit out the videos. So, the plan B, and this is interesting because the same exact thing happened yesterday in my attempt at the live stream. But the reason was different. Obviously now the battery wasn't the problem, it was the fact that I waited too late to land. So, for the hatch, that's right, that's right. So that's an interesting thing. We'll have to look at that when we actually build the N1 from scratch. I can't pronounce that S. How do you say that S? Sluza? I'm not going to embarrass myself or anyone else, so I acknowledge your comment there. It's an airlock in English. So yes, I know what you mean there. Now the thing is, instead of building a new craft from scratch or trying to land the other Gemini on the surface here, I'm just going to go back to the Space Center, and we do have the direct descent Gemini already there. I even showed it to you at the start of the stream here. So we're going to use that now. It makes it a bit longer than intended, comrades, but that's the Kerbal way, so we roll with that. Let me just load the thing up. Now, this is again built before the restock mod was installed, so there might be some clashes with the parts clipping and things. It shouldn't really make a difference. I just want to edit the fairing here. That is a big problem with this craft. And I'll explain in just a second. Just want to move that down. The thing is with this craft, if you reload it in like a different configuration, the fairing here kind of attaches to the S4B and it doesn't want to let go, so it's a problem. You just have to fix that there. So it doesn't waste time to search on Google. That would be very helpful. I would still obviously have to do a bit of preparation ahead of time, just so I know more or less what to expect again and where to start with the whole build. But anyway. So this is now just the normal F1 engines, but I mean this the Saturn V here that we've seen already. This was of course the whole series that I spent building this thing, so it's literally the same thing copied over here, so there's no other change to that. The only thing is of course with the Apollo capsule and lander. There's no lander here, so this fairing is empty there. It just has the Gemini direct descent thing on the top. Now, actually, this is a good opportunity to make a few changes to this craft, because I know from experience that the upper stage does not have enough fuel to do the return burn to Earth, or carbon in this case. So I just want to add a little bit of fuel here. Actually, I'm going to add some to the landing stage as well, but let's just use some of those radial tanks. Now this is going to be again a bit of a dirty job here, comrades, forgive me for that. This is literally just to get the thing to work, so we don't end up with another refugee on the moon. Just 4 of them should be enough. I hope this is going to work. I think it should, but from that one experience before, this craft is sort of just on the very edge of working, you know, in terms of the return. Because the landing happens, this stage here will do most of the braking for the landing on the moon, but then obviously this stage here does the actual landing. But then it also has to stay behind on the moon, and just this final upper stage has to do the orbital insertion and the return, and it barely has enough for that. So if it's slightly suboptimal, it's not even going to work. So just a tiny bit of fuel, comrades, just to give us a better chance to actually succeed here. So I can actually dock with the other Gemini. You know, that's not a bad idea. Let me just see, we don't have a docking port on this thing. But the thing is, do we want to do that? Do we just want to rescue Jeb and come back and then bring the other one back? But I'll just put the docking port here in case, because we never know what will happen. So obviously just the basic change here. And I don't want this thing with the separatrons. We'll just do it minimalistically. So just that on top, and I can't actually scroll higher right now. I have to move the whole craft, but being lazy, I'm not going to bother. So that'll do. So we'll just release that again and during the ascent. So that'll do. It's just a slight bit of safety margin there. This thing also doesn't have any solar panels or any power source, but it should be fine because we don't need the power as badly with this as we did with the lander there. So with this craft I only want one pilot, and it is of course going to be Valentina, which is quite interesting historically to have a Soviet kind of person, or Kerbal. Of course it doesn't translate exactly because we don't have a Cold War on this planet, but for Valentina to use a Gemini craft to rescue another Gemini pilot. So anyway, we do it whatever works. Fairing so it doesn't touch the S4B. I think that is really the problem there. It's just because when you build the fairing, you have to obviously attach onto it and then just move it around a little, but then if you reload it sometimes it somehow still attaches to that. So sometimes you just have to redo that. Dock with the other Gemini, I think I've seen all of this. Offset with the shift, yes, I do that a lot. That actually helps. Now I think we can just skip to sunrise again because nobody can see anything, and that was too much, but it's alright. And we'll just launch. So this is the closest thing to an Apollo launch that I'm going to do now. And there it goes. So we know how this craft behaves. It's a trusted friend now, since we know more or less what to do with it. I don't think I have the central engine on a key though to shut it down as we continue with the burn, which is actually a useful thing, otherwise we start overspeeding again when we get some real heating effects. Just have to pitch over a little bit more than normally because it's a bit late now. That should do. So Valentina is on her way. Yes, Saturn Gemini, exactly. It's another way of looking at it, I suppose. This is the direct ascent version for Gemini. So I suppose in a way it is, I don't know, it doesn't really make sense other than to say it's a bit safer because you don't have to do a docking with the direct ascent. But it's still going to be the same cost of developing a whole Saturn V and all of that. So you might as well do the Apollo and then you have more opportunities for actual other applications afterwards. So I think we're actually turning too much here. Yes, oh dear, might be another fail. Why is it always when it's live that it's a fail? Well, that's how it works. Makes it more interesting. Ejector seats, oh yes, it's Nova. But the thing is, isn't Nova the direct ascent with Apollo? The direct ascent with Gemini was the Saturn V. So Saturn V is not enough for the Apollo direct ascent. I didn't even turn the central engine off. Let's just do it for the sake of it. Overheat. It'll be what it'll be. We just need to get there safely now. Then separate those burn. While they burn, ignite the engines. While that goes, we separate the fairing and we just get that kind of classic effect there. So that is what we were looking to see there. Sometimes if you time the thing wrong, when you separate that first stage and you separate the fairing too quickly, they'll smash into each other, and obviously you don't really want that. So yes, I think this is now pretty straightforward. starts to boil. Yes, exactly. Right, now we just more or less go to orbit. Again, it doesn't matter where in orbit we go. It doesn't have to be 185 or anything like that. 100 is fine. We'll just cut it there and then separate the nose cone, just to give that bit of aerodynamic efficiency. Now, again, this is something that I'm not familiar with the real Gemini, if it also had a little nose cap there or something on top of the docking port. It must have, because you can't just burn the thing into the atmosphere and hope for the best. I think it actually did. It was a kind of flat adapter on top of that. It wasn't a pointy one like I just used. Now, should we separate the thing? Everything is going off the rails now, comrades. This is not a historical recreation by any means, since we're reigniting the second stage. Actually, we don't need to do that. Oh well, we'll just do it anyway. Docking port in the stage stack. Now, when you say that, what do you mean? You can also put a docking port in the stage stack. Where in the stack? Forgive me, I'm not following exactly what you mean there. Let me just do the burn now. And hope for the best. I think, well, I'm not sure, but without the addition of the lander, this thing should be lighter than the Apollo combination, so we should have a bit more fuel to play with anyway. 3 seconds. So you can uncouple. That is true, yes, you're right. Admiral will have 22 million in 2222. Well, what will be, right? So dirty ascent here, but anyway. Separate, ignite the next engine, and we'll just get into an orbit here. Too many predictions there, or iterations. And the thing why it says that, if you're not familiar with the trajectories mod, is because it projects every single time that you're going to pass through the atmosphere, and then obviously the calculations just get a bit confused there, so it sort of stops doing that. Now I think if I press 1, nothing bad will happen. No, just the antenna is being deployed there, and we just have to prepare now for the journey to the moon, the 3rd time in a single mission. Well, hey, it's an interesting variant on the mission, but anyway. Now this doesn't matter which way we approach the moon, we just need to get in a sort of equatorial plane, but we'll make the final changes as we approach the moon, so more or less. And just lock onto maneuver. We can speed up as well. It's going to take a bit of time to spin around, but I'll just turn the RCS on for that, and then we will see. Subs will sub if they deign that I'm worthy for them, but we'll see. Right, 50 seconds away. I'm just going to have the last sip of my tea here. Please visit my sponsor. No, it's going to be tough to visit a country as a sponsor. Well, not really though. Strand several Kerbals on the moon, or kills them simultaneously when I land on top of the one that's already there. That's also possible. And in that case we'll leave it right there, because then it was meant to be like that. Now we are late here. We should have turned already. It's not as efficient as I would have hoped. Oh well, close enough burn right there. And it's again pitch black. We only see the little jets there. We don't actually see the craft itself. Elon. Yes, Elon. He's forgotten us here in South Africa where he came from. We never see him these days. He must come and visit. I'll meet with him. Oh dear, he'll never even speak to me, but anyway. He got out of here as fast as he could and never looked back. Fancy man, it's nice to see you again. Thank you for returning. We're still here doing a rescue for a rescue, I guess. Didn't want to land blindly, so they first a drone that tells them where it's good to land. That would be better, you know, actually much better than this trying to just sort of randomly land in a place without checking out the terrain. So that makes a lot of sense. When we do the in-one landing, that's something I'm going to have to follow then, to actually see what that drone is supposed to look like, or sort of lander is supposed to look like. Right, so we just wait now. Valentina is again traveling in an unorthodox manner, single-handedly to the moon to rescue Jeb, as usual, I guess. It's par for the course in KSP. That, more struts and more boosters. I've never used Make Jeb in my life, ever. Nothing against it. It's probably a good idea to use that as well, just to remove some of these sort of not tedious things, but you can just make it a bit simpler. But I've never actually done that. Everything has been manual. What? There are 2 Jebs. No, make Jeb 2? I'm not sure. 2 Jebs in a manner of speaking, I guess. Right, so now separate from this. Again, this is dirty because we should have crashed the S4B into the moon. But seeing as I can't even see that, just have to deal with that. Now, also the benefit of doing this mission is we actually have the proper flag now. And that's just because I saved the Saturn V with the American flag. So I guess we get to see that after all. Tons like docking, rover, rendezvous and autopilot. You know, I might have to do that. I always felt though, if I'm going to be doing those things anyway, then I should do it manually. But you know, just to make things a bit easier, that is a good idea. Be the end of Kerbal. Yes. Oh no. It'll be the end of Kerbal, you're right. So now we just go and see what we can see. And approach there. I think, well, we'll worry about the inclination once we're in orbit. Let's just get into an orbit first. There is poor Jeb. Good thing there's no life support mods installed here, otherwise we would see a dead Kerbal either way. And we're spinning around there. Yes, your idea, absolutely. It's a good idea too. Now burn for the actual orbital insertion, and then this stage will also take us down to the moon, but not all the way, so we'll have to detach it, which is why we don't want to approach too close to Jeb, otherwise this thing will crash into him. But yes, I don't think my accuracy is that high, but we'll see. Where they lived yet, I don't think so. No clue. Since they are technically infinite, you can always get more of them. Now, the problem is also now it's darkness on the moon, so we're just gonna have to go back to the tracking station and just speed up, because I don't want to do this in darkness, because the darkness here is extra dark. So we'll just get into a relatively stable orbit, and I do want to make sure that there's not going to be an issue with power here. I'll just put the power off there, just so we have the stability assist there. Now, back to the tracking station, and now we just have to wait. Look, see transfer tunnel. No transfer tunnel. We figured out all the Kerbals lived yet. They didn't. No transfer tunnel. Again, I'm not following exactly what you mean there. They lived in Africa, looked like land. Yes, that's obviously the continent where we launched from. But obviously they would live all over the planet here, I would imagine. But now why are we here. I need to see the moon now. I'm just getting a little bit lost here. Right, we just wait until it's day again. Now obviously this is unplanned. We don't want our astronaut to be waiting this long on the surface with no sort of lander to actually get into, but it was unfortunately forced this way due to my ineptitude. So we'll just fly the direct descent again and we will see what we can do with that. And hopefully not die again or strand ourselves. Now the problem is again here, I have to just make a correction burn first, but that's easy enough, and then lock onto that, and I'll just speed to the next maneuver. I don't think we'll do a docking with the one in orbit already. We'll just send Bill back home, so we'll just have two different craft separately returning. And I guess it's just more experience for the flight crews, because at this point this is the first mission in this save, so it's an ambitious first mission. Right, we'll just have to eyeball this again. Close enough, right? For government work. And then retro, and we'll see. Oh yes, no, it's not a good thing. In stock KSP you might still be able to get away with a landing at night. The thing is just here, it's totally unpractical just because of all the mods. You see, I think it's especially the distant object enhancement one. That's bringing this whole skybox dimming in. And obviously that's not a helpful thing, but I could turn it off, I guess, but also I do like it. It just adds a bit more flair to the whole thing. Now I'll just burn a retro maneuver here, just so we start approaching the spot on the moon there, and then we will see if we can do the thing. Now I don't want to get too close, because obviously the moon is going to rotate underneath us, and we don't want to make more mistakes here, especially since I have not pressed F5 yet. Good grief. Amateur hour over here, comrades. Good grief. Let's just fix this whole thing. Burn, I don't know what the actual maneuver is, but we need to burn north, so I can just bring our inclination up a little bit. And of course I'm doing it the whole long way around. It's normal actually, that's what I'm looking for. Like that, and then back to retrograde. Now the good thing also here is the engine is a lot better. This is still the old Terrier engine. Now it's the same performance as the new one, but it's better than obviously landing with ants, because we can do the braking burn much more efficiently as well. Upside down, you know, that reminds me of my time in Australia. Absolutely upside down. Good thing I got out of there. Well, I did enjoy it though. It's a different way of looking at things, you know. So let's just plan this a little bit. Actually, I probably should be burning now. I think actually we cancel out most of our horizontal movement. I don't normally do it like this. I prefer to plan it in stages down to the surface, but it's just because again I've been waiting too long here. Seems to be a theme. Oh dear. Need something stronger than tea, comrades. Now I'm sweating. It's not going exactly the way that it should. Oh well. Yikes, it's gonna be a crash, is it? Oh no. Well, I did press F5. This is the stuff that you edit out. But hey, that's the fun part, I think. To actually see this stuff. I'm just as incompetent as everyone else. Not to say everyone else is incompetent. I'm just saying I'm no different than everybody else. No, F9 please. This is the stuff that happens. We just have to go with it. Right. Start the burn immediately, please. Retro. There we go. Make Jeb, exactly. That would be much easier. Learning is painful, and the thing is, it's especially painful if you already know the thing, but you forget, and then you just have to relearn the same lesson over and over. But that is how it goes. Just like life, KSP will teach you the same lesson over and over until you actually learn. So anyway, that's much better, just to slow the thing down, and now we can plan it much better. So again, it doesn't have to be absolutely exact because we still have the fuel from the jetpack, so we can use that now. So yes, trust me, I've had to learn that lesson the hard way. But yes, you have to pay attention to the signs. See what lessons you need to learn. Now in this case we have almost 500 meters per second delta V left, but it is not going to be enough, and that is the point. It's supposed to burn out just before we do the landing because it doesn't have the legs on this stage. This is just like the N1 configuration where you use, is it the block D or something? It shows you I'm so out of practice here, and we should have burnt already. But with the N1, you take that stage with the lander and then you use most of it to slow yourself down to the actual landing. So it's close in that sense. Some parallels there. Good grief, thanks for reminding me, comrade. Well, if everything went perfectly, what fun would it be, right? It would just be boring and predictable and the same thing every time. So as long as we end up a few kilometers away, I can still maneuver us because this landing stage has a lot more fuel than it needs to have. Well, not a lot, but more anyway. So 140 at 4 kilometers. That is so deceptive still. That's maybe one thing I would like as an option. We could turn it off or on depending on what you want to do, but just so that this altimeter switches automatically based on where you are. So if you're on Kerbal but you're above the ocean, then it can automatically switch to the ocean, but on the moon it only uses the moon readout. I suppose you would still want to see this above the mean or whatever it is, since there's no sea level here, just for the orbit, but for the landing you obviously need to see this. Not rip, no rip here. 9 meters per second, and we just get rid of that stage and ignite. This is just an old spark engine, so I have to keep burning it. Just not again leave it too late, and I think it is probably too late already. Can a spark engine slow us down by 70 meters per second within a kilometer? That's the thing. Oh dear. Good grief. Yes, I think so. 1.5 kilometers is fine. We'll use the jetpack for that. Slowing down too slowly here. 600. No. It's almost like I'm praying. It doesn't really help here though. No, maybe. No, it's too late. What if I fire all of the RCS jets? And it's not actually working. Do I have no RCS fuel? Oh, I do. I think I just... No, the thrust limiter is fine. Oh well. We'll see. Maybe the landing legs can absorb it. You see, you have faith there. We'll make it. I hope so, but no. Maybe not. Amateur hour. Although, just don't... yes, it's only the upper thrusters that are actually working. If we can just slow down now, just enough to do the landing like this, it's fine. It's fine, we've made it, because we don't want to use that stage for the return. This is the return stage. Turn that off. I think it will work. This is the messiest mission that I've ever done in my life, but I love it for some reason, because it's the most Kerbal way to celebrate the whole Apollo anniversary. So the engine survived, that's all that matters. We can actually ditch this and just try and get this thing upright. What I probably did is I put these thrusters onto a key, but I don't want to start pressing keys because I might separate the whole thing here. Let's just see if I can get the thing upright. It's got a lump in my throat here from all of this. Burn the RCS, we don't need it for anything else. Okay, it works, it's enough. Good grief. Cut it, all engines stop, all RCS off. This is absolutely the most Kerbal mission, and again we have a lovely view and we have some landing legs spinning around in strange ways. Those things are still a bit, well, they're a bit odd, you know, they can still perform in strange ways like that now, but we left lots of pieces on the moon and there they go. Anyway, I think we need to switch to Jeb manually. It's too far away. Anniversary. I'll switch to that and then maybe it was close enough. To Jeb. Now he is looking over there. He must have seen this whole thing play off in front of him. And he just thinks, well, at least he wasn't the only one messing up like this. If the actual astronauts did this, then I don't think there would have been much hope for a space program. So yes, that would have been bad. I have to get some water. This can affect you in a bad way if you keep crashing like this. But at least we see more of the moon, hey? And we might even find one of those moon rocks that I was speaking about. Don't think I'll go out of my way to find it, but I probably should, since we can now really just use this jetpack. What a mission, comrades. I don't think it could have worked out any better. I was thinking, yeah, oh now I'm gonna do such a professional mission for the stream and it's all gonna be great and everything is gonna be perfect down to the last meter per second of delta V. Not literally, but you get the picture. But then this happened and I think it couldn't have been any better, because otherwise it would have been so boring really. Just land and go home and that's it. Absolutely a jetpack. That should be its new name actually. I don't know why we need a parachute at this point, but okay, we're carrying one with us. Just seeing if we can find a moon rock here. Sometimes I have to turn off all of the scatter objects just to see them, but it might be one of these things here. Exactly right. Absolutely right. And what is this? Is that one of them? I think so. Yep. If it looks a little different from the average object, then that is exactly what you're looking for. Now, the funny thing is with this, somehow Jeb actually manages to fit this whole thing in his pocket. It's an odd thing, but hey, that's the way it works, right? It's a special rock, this. So he's going to pick up the moonstone now. He still has the sample from before, so we can review the sample. Pick up the moonstone, and he's chipping away at it, which I like a lot. And then we'll read something, and then it'll disappear. What secrets hide in these ordinary looking moonstones? Careful analysis will help us understand the secret of Kerbin's origins. Less rigorous analysis tells us that they hurt when you hit your toe with one. A+. So we take that, and of course the whole thing gets shrunken down and he takes it with him. I suppose we can explain that more rationally by just saying he took the most meaningful part of the rock, and so the rest blends back into the background since we're no longer interested in it. That's one way of looking at it. Exactly. The failures are actually the best part of the whole thing. So that's absolutely true. I was playing a bit earlier today, just to, again, obviously because of the whole moon fever and all of that, I was going back to Buzz Aldrin's Space Program Manager. And there the failures are not fun, because you can put so much time into getting your missions right, and then you get these random rolls and then things just don't work out. That's still an excellent A+ game, and I want to return to it one day to do the Soviet landing, but just based on the entertainment value, that's absolutely true. Somehow we get a complete slowdown in the frame rate as well as we approach this disaster here. Must be all of the parts scattered all over the place. That's unexpected, but it forces me to take things slowly. And we have to grab the proper flag there as well. Yikes, that's not good. Why is it so slow? I think what I need to do also, you see the flashing on the flag there. This is some kind of a glitch. I think it's also because of the stop terrain mod, where you do your landing, but then you really have to save and reload just to get things to sort of smooth out again. So I'm going to F5 here, and we'll just F9 and see if that helps. Didn't go. Too slow. It's not working. For some reason F9 is not working. Interesting. Let's see. Multiplayer. I would love to figure out, I know there's a dark multiplayer mod or something. I've never looked at it. I've never done any research on that, but absolutely correct. Imagine how you have to do a docking or something, and the one person is responsible for the kicker stage and the other one for the actual capsule stage. And then there's hilarious opportunities for disaster there. Now something is going very wrong here, comrades. It just sort of cancels the F9. So I'm just going to save again, quick save, F9, and then it just goes away on its own, even if I keep the button in there. So it's just telling me, just keep going, don't bother with reloading it. Exactly, that's absolutely true with the landing as well. That would be such a great experience. I have to see if there's a way to make something like that happen, even if it's not, you know, a literal sort of multiplayer in real time. Something that I was thinking about that I would love to do is to have some kind of a thing where people contribute different parts to a craft. For example, a landing stage, or a capsule stage, or a lander, or sort of things like that. I'm just going to board here again. So yes, the quick save thing, when you, let me just try that again. F5 to save it, but it seems a little bit better. Now F9 to load it. Now it works. Okay, maybe it was not long enough because the slowdown in the frame rates. Just want to see if it helps a little. Maybe a little, I'm not sure. At least the flag isn't flashing anymore. Now since Jeb has already been on the moon, I'm going to ask Valentina to do this, and she's just going to plant the flag again. So what should we say for the plaque this time? Something poignant and meaningful. I'm going to just put the flag down. This is now the historical one. A war. For me, I don't know about the war thing. I know there's the whole mod with the BD Armory and all of that. BD Armory, that's right. I don't know if it... Well, it depends. Everyone can play KSP in their own way. Fly safe is the first thing. But for me, the whole thing is not about violence and war and all of that. The whole benefit of KSP is that it puts the focus on scientific exploration and the wonder involved in all of that, and of course the amusement when everything goes wrong. Look at me now. You can see my brain is screwed up. Fly war. I can't talk and write at the same time. There's a problem. There was a cross in the wires. We'll leave that right there. Fly war. I don't know what it means. Man, I was talking about war and why I don't think it's a good thing in KSP. It can be, it's fun, you know, you can do what you want, but just for myself I don't do that. But yes, you're right, it is fun to destroy things as well. We'll just leave that and then say something about a facepalm. And something about the actual landing itself, that they didn't do a facepalm. Exactly, fly war, absolutely. And you know, it's appropriate because so many of the boosters that we used during the moon missions, not the actual Apollo thing, but the Titan II and the Atlas, those were all ICBMs. So it's literally flying war. Maybe there's a deeper meaning to this whole thing than I thought. So what shall we say here? Let's say, let's think about this. In honor, now in South African English, just like in British English, you spell honor with a O-U-R. In honor of those who... Damn, when you have to think about something deep, it just dries up. Here on the moon, war becomes peace. That's it. It solves everything. Thank you for that. Here on the moon, and then I'll just put in brackets. Moon, man, war becomes peace. And do you say your name Quincium? Is that right? I don't want to butcher anyone's name. Quincium. Should be. So we give you your recognition there. So yes, we'll keep it like that here on the moon. Let's take your quote. Let's not put things on it. That is your quote there. And Quincium, your names are immortalized there. So now let's see if we can actually get home. That is the whole crescendo to this whole orchestra. I just think I need some water, so if you'll just excuse me for one moment. You can see more of my horrible background. Here we go, just have this nearby. Area 51. I think we need to add that, just because that is the thing that is sort of the topic of the moment. We'll add that as well. There's room for more, but I don't think we can actually. We'll need to bring a new flag. Let's ask Jeb to do that, since we are here. Now it's just going to take a bit of flicking through all the pieces here. And just have to wait there. It's still very, very laggy. Strange, the other one didn't really do that. It must be all the parts here lying all over the place, behaving in strange ways. So if anyone has anything else to add to a flag, please put your suggestions down now. Wearing a jacket? Yes, I have to. It's very cold. It's winter time here. Plant the flag. So we'll name the thing Area 51, but then we'll just need a quote or something to go with that. So, it's slow motion here. It's unintentional, really. It's not a good thing. I have to sort this out. Area 51 and going once, going twice. Admiral Bureau Design. I'll put that on there. Thank you for that. And now I need to think, how do I spell this again? Bureau Design. Comes from the heart. Absolutely right. Honor of... Okay, I'll put that in there then. But then isn't it funny to sort of put something in honor of my own design bureau? That's a bit self-serving, don't you think? I'll just put the other one there. Best original content. Don't know why I put a capital O there. Shameful spelling. Best original content comes from the heart. And that is, of course, our great comrade Ahmad Salah. And anything else? I don't think so. So we'll leave that. All bets are closed, and we just leave that there. I heard something about a heat wave all over the USA. I honor you, comrades. It's only due to you that all this is working. We'll put you. I don't think we can edit a plaque. Can I put another flag? I'm gonna go back and get another flag just because we are here. There's no point in missing out on this. Let's just put it on. If there's any other takers for a plaque, then please notify me now, just so we don't have to come back again. And who was saying about absolutely have to put your name on, about the flags on the moon and making a moon out of flags, and now it seems that we are doing that. So whoever said that was again very visionary. Now I think we should have another flag here, or do we not? Ah, I think we only come with the 2 then. No, we do. We have the 1. Obviously it didn't show because I wasn't on the ground. So we have infinite supplies of flags there. Right. Just have to put the RCS off. Right. Let's see. The whole moon will be filled with flags. Exactly. So, okay, let's just see. I have to put some names. So what do we call this one? I know. I'll contribute that one. In honor of the I don't want to say community, because it's not the community, it's literally everyone in the chat. So we'll say in honor of the chat, and then I'll just put the names that I didn't put on them. X nonsense. Hope I just need to double check the spelling here. Quantum X nonsense is correct. Any other names? I'll put Fancy Man 213 as well, and all the other things as well. Quantum the Delmon will be filled with flags. Exactly. Launching flags to save Delta V. Exactly. That would be an excellent idea. Just put 1 or 2 more things. In honor of flying chair. And I can't even begin to write that name in Russian, so forgive me. Millicat. Mickey Cat. Is that correct? Okay, I'm CAT. Right, that's it. Bets are closed. Everyone's name is somewhere except the ones that I couldn't write in Cyrillic. So let's just get back home. Otherwise, all of this honoring is going to be in vain. But I think it's a really good thing, and we have to do this in the future as well. Everyone who's involved in some way has to be remembered there. Ash Games. Greetings, comrades. And the message was retracted just as I was looking at it. Let's just get back. It's like we're underwater in a way. It's so slow. Just have to go through all the pieces of our crafts here. Right. Of course, it's you made my day, comrade. Don't even think anything else. Right. Let's hope for the best. If this fails, then I'm not gonna do another rescue. Then it fails for the final instance. I'll just have to go with that, comrade. That is a heck of a name, but obviously I would want to do it in the proper Cyrillic, but I don't even know how to do those keys, so actually I need to have a thing that I can copy names off and paste them somehow. I don't know how to do that though. I'm an amateur, so forgive me again. I do recognize you, and I do honor you in that way. Seems to be on Operation Honor of the Chat. Exactly, it should. I'll put that in the description. I just need to remember that. That should be saved somewhere. Obviously the chat is going to be saved, so I'll put that into the description, and if I can still edit the title, I'll do that. Right, let's just go. We're going for the 90 again, just to use the moon's rotation. If this fails, then I don't know. But I think it will work because of that last tiny amount of fuel that I added on just at the last moment. Stress, you know, gaming is supposed to reduce your stress, not increase it. But that's again where the entertainment comes in. Okay, we are increasing the time to apoap, so I can just leave it to lock to the pro grade there. Didn't even extend the antenna. Let's just leave it like that. Tiny amount of hope. Exactly. That tiny amount is even smaller than you know, comrades. Well, the thing is, actually, from this point of view, where we are on the moon right now, since that is the actual orbital position of the moon, or its actual orbit goes right through there. What we can do, because we're going towards the 90, is we can just keep burning and, you know, passing through the actual orbit and then keep burning to return, because this is more or less where we need to burn to return anyway, so it's a good place for that. And it's still growing to the apoap, so we can just keep leaving that. So we'll see. Thank you, comrade. I hope so. But what luck is it just to have crashed this craft without breaking the upper stage. That is just something, I have to say. We're still getting the same slowdown. I don't know why. Might have to reduce the number of scatter objects on the surface. I think that's probably the real problem here, because the terrain, visual terrain mod makes those physical objects, so I'm sure that actually changes something with the frame rate as well. But it will pass quite soon, I hope, since we're climbing a little at least. 10 seconds. Nope, need to pitch up a little bit. Let's hope, let's hope. What do we have right now? 800. Yes, that should be fine. That should be fine, and it's just because of that extra tanks that we added. Charge full speed. Exactly. I won't just say in the name of South Africa, because it's supposed to honor Apollo and all of that. So we'll just say charge full speed and with all protocols observed. That's how I started my channel a long time ago. 2016, the first videos. I would say greetings, friends and comrades, with all protocols observed, because that's a thing that happens in politics here in South Africa. People will often do that instead of, you know, especially at formal events, instead of then saying, I greet this person and that minister and that prime minister, or not prime minister, but premier, and this dude and that dude and this person and that person. We just skip all of that and we just say, I greet you with all protocols observed. That's it. So you don't really observe them by that way, but at least you're mindful that there are some protocols. Exactly. A meme. It's still very slow, and it's still because we're too close to the surface, but that's fine. Doesn't matter. We're leaving anyway. Have to fix that for the next one. The last thing I want is to have this kind of slowdown in performance now. So how are we doing? 16 seconds. I'm just going to lock to pro grade again, and that should be fine. Now we just keep burning until we get home, and that'll be that. That would be great. I would like to do that, but Gameplay Review UK is a lot better than I am in terms of the actual recreations. He's got some skills that just blow my mind, so I would love to do that at some point. But I will be coming in as the one learning from Gameplay Review UK, but that's the point of collaborations. So yes, that is the thing. Slideshow KSP. This is not good. It is the objects on the ground. You see, all of them cast their own individual shadows, and it's the mod thing again. It's always a mod. If there's a problem, it's always a mod. So yes, extend the antenna just for the sake of it. If I can. Good grief, it's slow. I'm gonna speed up. This is not a good thing to do, but just in the interest of getting this orbit formed. And go back to prograde, and you see, there's the thing that we want. We just want to get further away from the surface. There's it better? Yes. You see, as soon as we get far away enough so that those objects don't... Well, I still see them on the ground there. Something happens and then the frame rates just go perfect again. Anyway, it's fine. Enough complaining about frame rates. Let's see. Show that. I know that word, the twat. Absolutely. It's a word that's used here as well. Thank you for that about the South African launch vehicles, because I remember I had a comment or two saying it's nobody wants to see that, and I still thought it was interesting just to see what could have been, especially if you take the South African launches a bit further with the manned capsule, which never happened. And that'll do. So now at least we're set up to go home. Let me just see from the inside here. We can't actually see anything because the let me just get some more water, because the antenna is in the way. But so be it. Now we just have to speed up. So at this point I'm not going to worry about doing too many things. We just need to land safely, and then of course do the same for Bill, because he's still stuck there wondering where is Jeb and why is he not coming back from the surface. So I guess nobody told him yet. Now there you also see the trajectories mod. It's saying that we're going to land right there where the X is, so it's obviously taking account of the rotation of the planet plus the atmospheric drag and all of that. So now just leave here, and we're almost there, so I can just detach that stage and of course retract the antenna, and we just see now, why is the wheel authority not working? It's because I turned the batteries off. That's fine, doesn't really matter. And now we return. At least it's during the daytime. So I wonder now, should I detach this upper part? Probably. Then we have a drogue parachute and then two normal parachutes. They're all clipped in here. Again, I know that's not the best thing to do, but it's a way of making everything fit. But with the other Gemini craft I didn't have a drogue chute, so we'll just have to take it from there. Should try to build a station from that. I should take that a bit further. And that was an interesting thing, the way they depicted that South African station, just as a sort of side thing, you know, for the advert. What was it, Chicken Licken or something? It's a vision of what could be. So making something like that actually work is an interesting idea. Comments, well, you know, I don't mind about comments and stuff. It's just when people say they don't want to see stuff, then I think, okay, we'll do something else then. Obviously, if there's no interest, then that's pointless to do anything further with that. Starship, I should still try and recreate that at some point, but that is going to be probably the biggest challenge. I'm not sure how we can get the shape and all of that. We'll have to use lots of fairings for that. but it's possible. It must be possible. If I can see what Gameplay Review UK can do, then I think more is possible than I realize. So now we just can speed up again. We are going to have a landing this time, and it is somewhere. I think it's actually near the Badlands. Probably in that direction. Let's just do that and then separate the drogue chute. So let's just have a look. Buran to N1 and then to the starship. There has to be a progression. That's right. Otherwise we're just gonna jump around. So I have to go back to the unfinished business first. And the N1 is really the next thing. Then that will slow us down. Now I think if I press number 9 something should happen. And then we release the 2 parachutes. And we'll hopefully have a safe landing. US Space Force. I have no idea what that would entail. I suppose, I don't know. We'll have to see. That's back to Fly War, exactly right. That would be an interesting thing, and I don't know. It depends. There's, I guess, different manifestations that could take. But for me, really, the whole thing is space should be a place without war, and I know it isn't, because even like the Soviets tried to put Polyus into orbit, which was a laser, and of course there was the whole proposal for Star Wars and all of that stuff. But I guess it's inevitable that space will have the same kind of conflicts that we have on Earth, because we're the same people in space that we are on Earth. But if you look at just the collaboration still between the Russians and the Americans in the ISS, and then the type of conflict around Ukraine and all of that, it shows space does have a certain benefit for collaboration and cooperation, and we really should play to those things more than the war aspect. Recover the vessel, and I'll just have some more water, and then we'll finalize by just returning Bill home as well. Thank you, comrades. Try to find a new solar system in KSP. Do you mean with one of those other solar system mods in KSP? I think, what do I have at the moment? Let me just, okay, we've recovered everyone. Do I have the Outer Planets mod? I think I do actually have that installed at the moment. I know it's not a different solar system. Yes, I do have that installed, but I've never gone to any of those places. This was just out of pure curiosity, so maybe in the future we can visit those places. I'll just show that. It's always good to know. Off your head, I know that one as well. Don't think I know any of the other things. Hamlet, of course, we also use that. If you partake a little too much. Just go to Gemini L and now return that back home, and then that will be back. That will be that. Yes, the thing with the mods, I know it's not a good thing, because the more mods we have, the more capability we have for things going wrong. So, what do you think about this? Is now again for just everyone, for food for thought. What do you think about something like restock? Should we keep going with that, or should I just go back to plain stock parts and visuals and all of that? But let me just see where we need to make the burn now. Of course it's locked because he's not a pilot. Orlum, I've never even really paid attention to all of those new planets in the Outer Planets mod, but I thought it might be an interesting thing, because we've seen everything already. Obviously now, not in my gameplay, but we as in the community, we know all of the planets and everything, so having some more is not a bad thing. Okay, that's close enough. We'll do the actual fine burn when we get to the point. And I'm also going to just take this battery pack back as well. Just want to make sure that we're burning from here. And turn that engine off. Shut down, just so we can get rid of the space debris as well. Yes, oh yes, restock the plume thing, that is true as well. I don't know, it's a difficult thing because after a while the basic stock game gets a bit bland in a way. Not, I mean, the gameplay itself is fine, that's always exciting and unpredictable, but you know, some of the parts will still need to be updated a little bit just to catch up with the kind of modern style. But I do think staying closer to stock is better, but having a few mods here and there is not a bad thing. So let's see, plain stock. Yes, the thing is also if I have any mods, I can't share the builds because obviously that means everyone has to also have the mods. So it's a fair point. At least in this case it was just for the sake of it, not really to share any of these crafts, but I can do that if anyone is interested. Final approach. Close enough. 8 kilometers. I know we should aim for a little higher so we don't have such a steep re-entry burn, but that'll do, you know. Have an eventful end to the whole eventful mission, just to make the thing wrapped up. TKS. I've heard of the TKS. I've never really done much research to try and recreate that myself, but that's again something for the future to keep going with after the N1. Right, just go retro, separate the whole thing there. Very smooth separation there. And undock. Disable crossfeed, undock on that one. And let's hope it doesn't come back to slam into us. So I might have to just change our orbit a little with these RCS jets, just so we don't have any danger during the re-entry. Yes, retitle the stream. I'm going back up in the comments afterwards. If I still have forgotten, you must please remind me there. Didn't have a hole in the heat shield. Yes, one of them did. That was the Gemini mole, the manned orbiting laboratory, where they had to go through the heat shield down into the orbiting, well, it was attached obviously, so it was all orbiting, but into the station component, and then afterwards they would climb back in and close the hatch and then separate. Now I'm not sure how a heat shield works with a hole in it, because even if you close the hatch, there still obviously has to be a join between the different sides, so I'm not sure how that works and if it was the safest thing ever, but it obviously never worked out, since there was no need for the manned orbiting laboratory. So yes, for the crew, that's the only one that I know of with a hole in the heat shield. In terms of the other kind of Gemini, this sort of thing, obviously with the lander, that was an EVA to get back into the capsule. So I think it was just the Gemini mole. Operation Honor of the Chat. That's it. Thank you for putting that again. It just makes it easier. And I'll put the Gemini thing afterwards because that was a big component of this whole thing, just so we see what it's all about. But yes, that's pretty much near the end now. Unfortunately, it's going to be a night landing, so we're not going to see a nice spectacular end to this whole thing, but it's been a very good experience, and I'm actually really enjoying this whole thing of doing a live stream. The only obvious thing is I have to remember to check that the live stream key is the right one, so that I don't talk again for 2 hours and then it's all in vain. So that's again not the best thing, but it shows I'm not a professional by any stretch of the imagination. Right, so that's that. Now we just have to wait until we get a bit further down in the atmosphere. There's no real need for a drogue chute because the shape of the craft means that it slows down a lot, obviously during the last phase, since it's a very broad teardrop shape. But anyway, you can still use a drogue chute for this. Also, the Gemini thing, I think when it deployed the parachute, didn't it land a little on its side? Not obviously straight down, but just a little. I think it was offset a little bit. Anyway, we can deploy the parachute now. We are subsonic, so that's the whole thing just to make sure that you don't deploy your parachute in a supersonic speed. But it doesn't matter. In KSP, I think it allows you to do that anyway. Now, we don't have any idea where we are, but of course, if this happens, we check. We just switch to the terrain and, of course, the ocean sea level altimeter, and we see it's exactly the same, so we know it's an ocean landing. And we can't see anything at all. So we'll just have a look at the windows. Actually, we'll do it from inside, since there's nothing else to do now, comrades. So, yes, exactly. Now, recreating that, I'll have to move the parachute to the side a little bit, just to be kind of land a bit better, a bit more accurately. That's true. Everyone starts as an amateur. That is absolutely true. And that's a very reassuring thing, because obviously that means there's a scope for growth and improvement. Did the restock thing actually change the interior model here? I think it did, because it looks a lot better now than it did before. Oh well, we'll see now what the splashdown is, and there's one of the dogs barking. That's one of the things that you get in a live stream. 200 meters, we can speed up a little bit. Now this one lands a little too fast. It's about 8 meters per second. It's fine in Kerbal Space Program, but in real life that would not be a very comfortable landing speed. But just to make it simple, we just use the one parachute here. And that's that, comrades. Let's see, final fun fact. There has to be 2 N1 launches, one for just in case the first fail. That is also a very interesting and true thing, so we have to in that case probably use 2 different launch sites when we recreate that sort of thing. One is obviously the boomerang one. So yes, thank you for joining me, comrades, for tolerating my blabbing and my amateurish ways and all of that. But it was fun. It was a good thing just to get everyone back home safely and to see how things can go wrong, because it again reminds us, just like real life, KSP can have very unpredictable ways of turning out. So I salute you all, comrades. I'm just going to copy that operation honor of the chat, and I will see you next time, comrades. Thank you again for your kind words and for spending some time with me today. I hope you'll have a fantastic week, and it won't be that long until we speak again, because now we can do the live streams and all of that. At least the infrastructure is there for that now. So that's it. I'll try to announce it a little bit ahead of time, Quincy, just so there can be planning for that. But this was not a planned stream. Just throw it in the air and see where it sticks. So that's it. Thank you. Enough saying goodbye. Success to you all.